Chapter 677. Colluding with Evil? Hearing Qin Luo's sneer, the white-haired sword saint couldn't help but sneer. He raised the sharp sword in his hand and slightly shook his arm. In an instant, the blade of the sword was wrapped in a strange black energy, becoming incomparably sharp. Do you see, this is true power. Even, this power surpasses spirit energy. This is the power of chaos hidden in the darkness. Looking at the black aura on the sword, the white-haired sword saint's eyes were bloodshot and filled with madness. The demon race experts beside him also had black aura on them. According to them, the black aura on them was the power of chaos hidden in the darkness. Really, stubborn. Qin Luo shook his head helplessly and looked at the two ancient god sovereigns in front of him. They were ancient gods of the ancient god Yun Tu's generation and had the strength of a two-star ancient god sovereign. If it was a one-on-one fight, he naturally wouldn't lose. Even if the two of them attacked at the same time, he could still contend with them. But Qin Luo's eyes inadvertently glanced to the side where the seal of the land of God perdition was. Now that the spirit energy in the heaven spirit region had become very strong and the blood energy was hazy, it was very likely that it would damage the seal. In other words, he had to fight the two-star ancient god sovereigns and guard against the seal of the land of God perdition being damaged. Damn it, ancient god Yun Tu, these guys are really annoying. Qin Luo cursed in his heart and released all his spirit energy. Sword Saint, why are you still talking nonsense with this guy? It wasn't easy to absorb the power of darkness and come out of seclusion. Naturally, I have to fight to my heart's content. I can't wait to use this power. At the side, the black figure filled with demonic aura laughed strangely. Demon god Black Flame, hundreds of thousands of years ago, the demon emperor of the demon race died because of you. I didn't expect that he would join the ancient god Yun Tu and break through to become an ancient god sovereign. Qin Luo frowned slightly as he looked indifferently at the black figure. How unlucky! Even trash like you can become an ancient god sovereign. As expected of the million-year-old god of cursing, the demonic god Black Flame's mouth twitched, and a ferocious glint appeared in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, "It's all thanks to the power of darkness that I can achieve such a breakthrough. Today you will also become my nourishment. Sword Saint, go." His voice fell. Two enormous auras attacked Qin Luo. The white-haired Sword Saint and the Black Flame Demon God weren't weak to begin with, and with the support of the strange dark force, their strength reached a terrifying level. Humph! Divine Flame! Qin Luo snorted coldly. A large flaming saber appeared in his hand as he charged forward. The only thing he could do now was face the two of them head-on, and then draw them out of the sealed area of the land of divine demise. Otherwise, being restricted by the seal, it was difficult for him to fully display his strength. Bang! In an instant, saber light and sword shadow, the blazing saber light slashed at the enormous devil Qi. Even though he was restricted by the seal, Qin Luo wasn't at a disadvantage against the two ancient god sovereigns. He was still able to deal with their joint attacks with ease. Bang! Boom! Boom! The surrounding void constantly shattered. Three figures constantly flashed through the void. The white-haired Sword Saint and the Black Flame Demon God were smart. Every time Qin Luo wanted to draw them out of the sealed area, they would stop. It seemed like they knew that only by keeping Qin Luo restricted by the seal would they have a chance to deal with him. Otherwise, once Qin Luo lost his scruples, he would probably be able to defeat them one by one. Myriad sword formation. In the sky there was a black light. The white-haired Sword Saint raised his cold sword. In an instant, countless sword chi with black light appeared. As the white-haired Sword Saint swung his sword, it created a sonic boom as it attacked Qin Luo. At the same time, the Black Flame Demon God also activated the devil Qi that filled the sky and attacked Qin Luo. However, facing such a situation, Qin Luo appeared extremely calm. The saber in his hand was instantly engulfed in a layer of blazing divine flame. The saber trembled and instantly transformed into a 10,000-meter-long flaming saber shadow as it slashed down. This saber seemed to split the sky. Bang! 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 The 10,000 sword chi was instantly torn apart. The devil chi was also devoured by the divine flame. The sky instantly quietened down. That's it? Qin Luo raised his flaming saber and looked at the two ancient sovereigns with disdain. He was a 5-star ancient sovereign. Damn it, the power of the seal is really heartless. If not for the seal, I would have already killed the two of you. Qin Luo cursed. Clap, clap, clap. At this moment, the white-haired sword saint actually clapped his hands. The corners of his mouth lifted into a meaningful smile. He looked at Qin Luo and said, "You are indeed the famous god of cursing for 1,000,000 years. You are indeed powerful. I'm afraid only the most ancient existences in the ancient god cloud diagram can fight you head-on. But it's a pity that you are currently restricted by the seal. Moreover, it's not as simple as the seal, right?" The white-haired sword saint's eyes flashed with a playful look. He looked at the land of divine perdition behind Qin Luo. "I think there should be another person in the seal, right? Moreover, if I'm not wrong, she should be your wife?" Huh. Hearing this, Qin Luo narrowed his eyes and subconsciously leaned toward the seal. "It seems some filthy things have infiltrated the fire domain. It seems that the news is correct. Now we don't have to go through so much trouble." Seeing this, the white-haired sword saint couldn't help but curl his lips. At this moment, he and demon god Black Flame's eyes fell behind Qin Luo. Clearly, their target was very clear. It was the land of divine perdition. Their goal was to destroy the seal. Now, they could destroy the seal and restrain Qin Luo. Why not? Qin Luo's expression gradually became serious. He held the divine flame saber tighter in his hand. Only he knew what the land of divine perdition represented. He also knew that the seal must not be destroyed. At this moment, all was silent. The three of them fixed their eyes on each other. They were all looking for an opportunity to attack. Tisk, tisk. Suddenly, at this moment, a hearty laugh involuntarily rang out. "Isn't this Uncle Qin? We haven't seen each other for millions of years. How did you become so shitty?" Shitty? How dare you scold me? F***ck, it's you, you heartless brat. Hearing this, Qin Luo instantly cursed. However, when he turned his head, he was instantly overjoyed. He saw, behind Qin Luo, a black-clad young man stepped out of the void. He had a bright smile on his face as he looked at the three people present. "Hey, Uncle Qin. It's been a long time." Chapter 678. The white-haired sword saint and demon god Black Flame were both stunned by Ning Tian's appearance. Then, a solemn look flashed in their eyes. This kid had a strange aura. They could not see through Ning Tian's strength at all. It seemed that they had to be careful. "Kid, why are you here?" Qin Luo glanced at Ning Tian and then glanced behind him before asking. "The 9 Zones Tianma cult is in trouble. Of course I have to come. Besides, I can't let you die, right? Although it doesn't matter much whether you die or not," Ning Tian said honestly. "If Qin Luo died, how sad would his wife be?" Qin Luo rolled his eyes. "You stinking brat. You're so King heartless." This kid, why does he look so familiar?" The white-haired sword saint's gaze fell on Ning Tian. He could not help but frown. After pondering for a moment, he immediately reacted. His eyes flashed fiercely. "So it's you, kid. You know me? So, there are fans of mine in the ancient god cloud map." Ning Tian looked at him with a smile. "I'm your fan. You think you're worthy?" The white-haired sword saint roared. His eyes flashed fiercely. "You killed my son, destroyed my sect, and lied about being from the virtual god palace. You killed my sword god doppelganger. You're courting death. Destroyed your sect. Lied about being from the virtual god palace? Upon hearing the white-haired sword saint's words, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. He had destroyed so many sections. He might not know who they were, but he had some impression of lying about the virtual god palace incident. You're the sword god of 10,000 swords? He looked at the white-haired sword saint. That's right. The sword god of 10,000 swords he was talking about was the god realm expert behind the 10,000 swords sect that he had used a sect extermination card to destroy in the firmament territory. Back then, when the sword god of 10,000 swords Phantom had just descended to the firmament territory, he had shattered it with a slap. So, the sword god of 10,000 swords is this strong? He has the strength of an ancient god? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and muttered to himself. That's not right. Sword god of 10,000 swords is probably just one of your clones, isn't it? Ning Tian looked at the white-haired sword saint and said indifferently. According to the old voids of the virtual god palace, the god of swords had taken the initiative to look for them in the divine territory. He had beaten them black and blue, but he had not been able to kill them. If the god of swords was an ancient god, the virtual god palace would have been destroyed a long time ago. Since the virtual god palace still existed, it meant that the god of swords was merely a clone of the white-haired sword saint. Yes. Those old fellows from the empty god palace dared to destroy my clone. After this matter is over, I will personally destroy the empty god palace. The white-haired sword saint snorted coldly. What a pity. I'm afraid you won't be able to return. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth rose slightly. He then looked at Qin Luo and chuckled. Uncle Qin, leave this white-haired sword saint to me? What do you think? Little Ning, this guy is an ancient god sovereign. You, Qin Luo frowned. He seemed to have seen through Ning Tian's strength and was a little hesitant. Don't worry. I have confidence. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile, her expression calm. Okay. Don't die. Once I kill this black flame, I will come and help you. Qin Luo nodded. The divine flame saber in his hand was already thirsting for blood. He grinned and looked at the demon god Black Flame. The demon god Black Flame swallowed his saliva in fear. He alone was not Qin Luo's match. It was over. Was he really going to be killed today? I haven't killed demons in a long time. Finally, I can satisfy my craving. Qin Luo laughed loudly. Then, he raised the divine flame saber in his hand and charged at the demon god Black Flame. At the side, the demon god Black Flame screamed in fear. Without the white-haired sword saint's help, the demon god Black Flame alone was no match for Qin Luo, even with the power of dark turmoil. It was only a matter of time before he won. Kid, although I can't see through your strength, you are definitely not my match. Tens of thousands of swords appeared behind the white-haired sword saint. He looked at Ning Tian indifferently. A few years ago, you destroyed the phantom of my myriad sword god with a single palm strike. No matter how strong you were at that time, you were only at the demigod realm. Now that a few years have passed, no matter how talented you are probably only at the heavenly god realm. A mere heavenly god, not even a supreme ancient god. How can you be my match? Even as the demon god Black Flame cursed, the white-haired sword saint was unmoved. Because he knew. He only needed one strike to kill this kid. One strike was enough. Your analysis is very reasonable. In terms of strength, I am indeed no match for you, Ning Tian chuckled and said nonchalantly. I didn't expect you to be so self-aware. The white-haired sword saint raised the sword in his hand. Tens of thousands of sword intents followed behind him. Then go to hell. As his emotionless and indifferent words fell, he swung his sword. In terms of strength, I am indeed no match for you. But it's a pity. A faint light flashed through Ning Tian's eyes when he saw the 10,000 swords. His expression was extremely calm. He waved his hand, and the space before him rippled. A pitch-black stone statue stood in front of him. That was the ancestral stone statue he took from the 10,000 spirits' demon nest. I'll show you how frightening a million years of faith can be. I'm not fighting alone, but the entire heavenly demon cult. Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly as she muttered, "Use faith of light." The sound faded. Boom. In an instant, the ancestral stone statue emitted a dazzling golden light that illuminated the entire world. The tens of thousands of sword intents also dimmed and dissipated under this golden light. It is indeed effective. Fortunately, I took this stone statue with me. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian heaved a sigh of relief. His greatest assurance was this ancestral stone statue. The reward he received before, my ancestral master's faith, could release all the faith in objects that contained the power of faith. The stone statue he took away from the 10,000 spirits' demon nest contained the faith of the Tianma cult of the divine domain for 1,000,000 years. When this power of faith was used together with the faith of light, he could even fight against a sovereign realm ancient god. Boom! In an instant all the golden light poured into Ning Tian's body. The power surged and was extremely terrifying. This is, looking at the golden light emitted by Ning Tian's body, the white-haired sword saint's expression turned serious. Cold sweat trickled down his body. He felt that he was not facing one person, but thousands of people. This kid, how strange. His aura is actually infinitely close to this god's. His heart trembled violently. While the white-haired sword saint was secretly shocked, the system's voice rang in Ning Tian's mind again. He was going to cheat. Chapter 679. You have shocked the white-haired sword saint. Reward. God Realm Sword Tao Martial Art, Divine Will Judgment. In his mind, the system's voice sounded. Ning Tian just silently noted it down and ignored it. At this moment, a ball of power was gradually awakening in his hand. That was ethereal power. Don't forget, the ethereal power could temporarily increase one's strength. As Ning Tian was afraid that he couldn't defeat the white-haired sword saint, he wanted to use a few more cheats so that he could kill the white-haired sword saint in one move. Since he had already used cheats, he didn't mind using a few more. This was a form of respect for the white-haired sword saint. If the white-haired sword saint knew about Ning Tian's thoughts, he would probably curse him and beg him to humiliate him. He didn't want this kind of respect. I can't drag this out any longer. This kid's aura is still rising. Looking at Ning Tian's soaring aura, the white-haired sword saint was very nervous. He gritted his teeth and instantly made a decision. Sword intent flashed in his hand as he shouted, "Sword intent kill!" A sword attack with 3,000 layers of sword intent swept over. "Your sword is too weak." Ning Tian shook his head. Then, the red cloud sword appeared in his hand. It was the first time he used a kitchen treasure against a sovereign realm ancient god. Facing the white-haired sword saint's sword, his eyes flashed and his expression was calm. The white-haired sword saint's sword was full of flaws in his eyes. Although he was called a sword saint, don't forget that Ning Tian's second senior brother, Dustless, was a swordsman. Dustless sword art. Silent sword fall. Ning Tian said indifferently. His body was flashing with golden light. At this moment, under the support of the ethereal aura, he became even stronger. He raised his sword and gently waved it. Boom! In an instant, the sword intent was raging and whistling, but this sword was silent. Although it was silent, its speed was shocking. In an instant, the two sword intents collided. The murderous sword intent and the calm sword intent collided. However, the result was completely different. The silent sword intent swept over and destroyed the sword intent completely. Then, it charged towards the white-haired sword saint. "What?" the white-haired sword saint exclaimed. He stepped into the void and wanted to dodge. "Sorry," Space is my territory. The corners of Ning Tian's lips curled up. He lifted his hand and the space laws erupted. His palm slammed down and the white-haired sword saint was actually pushed out of the void. At the same time, Ning Tian controlled the space laws to form a giant hand that grabbed onto the soundless sword intent and slashed at the white-haired sword saint. The soundless sword intent was already astonishingly fast, and now it even had the ability to lock the opponent's head. How could the white-haired sword saint dodge this? Pooh! An X-shaped wound instantly appeared on the white-haired sword saint's body. His flesh was badly mangled, and the sword intent continued to wreak havoc within his body. What is this? The white-haired sword saint looked at the wound on his chest in horror. It was covered in blood, and he could even see a black heart beating. But this was not the most important thing. What terrified him was black smoke was spreading from the wound. This black aura was filled with the aura of death. It was as if it wanted to devour all life. Despicable! The sword intent is poisonous, the white-haired sword saint exclaimed. Poison? Hearing this, Ning Tian chuckled and did not say anything. This was not poison, it was just a little bit of the aura of death. Humph! The white-haired sword saint snorted coldly. Then, a strange black aura flowed out from his hand. He slammed his palm on his chest, and the aura of death that was attached to the sword intent was actually forced out by his palm. This aura, seeing the aura that the white-haired sword saint had just used, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a sharp light. This energy should be the energy that the ancient god Cloud Atlas had researched. The energy that the white-haired sword saint used was clearly much denser than sky ices. But why did the unknown tree react? That's right. When the white-haired sword saint used that strange black aura, Jiang Yi sensed that the unknown tree in the small world in his dantian had a desire. Could it be the energy that they used is the same as the energy that the unknown tree absorbed in the sealed land? Is there a connection? Ning Tian frowned. He had a vague guess in his heart. Dustless sword art, you are from the heavenly palace in this world, only he can defeat my sword art. The white-haired sword saint's eyes were filled with shock. You have shocked the white-haired sword saint again. Reward, Sword Dao God. At this moment, the white-haired sword saint finally strengthened Ning Tian personally. When the system's voice fell, Ning Tian's robe fluttered. The sword intent kept surging. Even the surrounding air was cut by the sword intent. 3,000 great Dao, it was an evolution under the law. When the Dao reached the extreme, it was the saint. Above the saint was the god. At this moment, Ning Tian raised the kitchen artifact in his hand. It was as if he was one with the sword. He looked at the white-haired sword saint calmly and grinned. White-haired sword saint, thank you. The white-haired sword saint. Damn. This kid, why did his sword intent suddenly strengthen so much? He was shocked. You have shocked the white-haired sword saint again. A red cloud sword has been upgraded. In his mind, the system's voice sounded again. He saw the red cloud sword in Ning Tian's hand flashed and became sharper. Hiss, this time, even the sword has become stronger. The white-haired sword saint widened his eyes. You again, the next attack, the sword intent move, will display 200% of its power. The system's voice fell again. Ning Tian, this white-haired sword saint, did he want to die so much? It would be fine if he was not shocked. The more shocked he was, the closer he was to death. Damn it, to be able to defeat me with sword intent, since ancient times, only Wu Chun can do it. As for the others, this god will not admit it. The white-haired sword saint did not know that he had strengthened Ning Tian so much. He gritted his teeth and looked at Ning Tian fiercely. He raised the white sword in his hand and said word by word. I will let you experience this god's strongest move, the myriad sword technique. The voice fell. The sword intent behind the white-haired sword saint whistled and turned into tens of thousands of sharp swords. Each sword contained 1/10 of his power. He was going to use this move. He was going to kill Ning Tian. Grandmolly, white hair, are you done yet? This demonic god can't take it anymore. This Qin Luo is shameless. He keeps chopping off this demonic god's lower body. He wants this demonic god to die without descendants. At the side, the demonic god Black Flame screamed. Soon, this sword will decide your life and death. The white-haired sword saint looked indifferent. He swung his sword and instantly, tens of thousands of sword intents appeared. This is called Myriad Sword? Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly. He looked at the white-haired sword saint mockingly. The white-haired sword saint was taken aback. He looked at Ning Tian's mocking face and suddenly felt that something was wrong. At this moment, he felt the endless sword intents around him. This is? His pupils suddenly shrank. In the sky, tens of thousands, no, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of Ning Tian appeared, and each of them held a scarlet heaven sword. 2 more chapters. Continue writing. Chapter 680. This was the advantage of the ethereal doppelganger. What was the art of 10,000 swords? Ning Tian used his actions to tell the white-haired sword saint that the tens of thousands of sword intents were not the real art of 10,000 swords, but the tens of thousands of himself holding the sword was the real art of 10,000 swords. I'm sorry, I only wanted to create 10,000 sword avatars, but I didn't expect to be so strong that I could create a few million sword avatars. Ning Tian scratched his head and looked at the white-haired sword saint apologetically. Don't worry. At most, each sword avatar will slash you once. The white-haired sword saint's mouth twitched. He gritted his teeth and stared at Ning Tian. Kid, if apologies are useful then… Oh? Apologies are useless? Then don't bother. Just slash me. However, before the white-haired sword saint could finish his words, Ning Tian casually interrupted him. He waved his hand casually and millions of Ning Tian's sword intents engulfed the white-haired sword saint. The 10,000 swords that the white-haired sword saint was so proud of were instantly shattered. I have one sword that is enough to destroy you. Divine will adjudication. Ning Tian's expression gradually became indifferent. His sword intent whizzed as though he was one with the sword. He raised the sword in his hand and swung it down. Golden light and sword intent engulfed the surroundings. At the same time, millions of figures in the sky did the same. 200% power explosion. No, the only thing that can defeat me is Wuchen's sword art. The white-haired sword saint's face instantly turned pale. Of course, because this is not a sword art. My sword art is only for cooking. You don't deserve to die under my sword art. After all, you can't eat. Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly as he chuckled. What? The white-haired sword saint's pupils shrank. His eyes were filled with humiliation, but at this moment, he had no strength to resist. Ah! The white-haired sword saint let out a blood-curdling scream. His body was instantly enveloped by millions of sword light. At this moment, the white-haired sword saint died peacefully. Not only was his physical body destroyed, even his soul was destroyed. Then, in the future, he would make things difficult for a certain white-robed girl in the Earth spirit world. After all, it was indeed a difficult task to collect a soul that had been shattered into millions of pieces. When the white-haired sword saint left peacefully, a strange black aura burst out from his body, intending to shoot in a certain direction. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, he directly used the absorption power of the unknown tree. The black gas seemed to be uncontrollable and directly flew toward Ning Tian. Then, it was sucked into the unknown tree in the small world of his Dantian. After absorbing the energy, the unknown tree flashed with a stream of light. It is indeed a familiar power, Ning Tian murmured. It seems that, the white-haired sword saint did not fully control the power of darkness. He was borrowing it. This power has a strengthening effect on the unknown tree. I have to get more of it. A glint flashed across Ning Tian's eyes. Then, his gaze fell on demon god Black Flame, who was being chased by Qin Luo with his divine flame saber. If he was not mistaken, this demon god should also possess such power. On the side, Qin Luo, damn you! This demon god curses your son to have no asshole. Demon god Black Flame's body was covered with wounds. Even his thigh, the place closest to his dignity, had a cut. The wound was so deep that even the demonic aura could not cover it. Haha. I don't have a son, only a daughter. She is also a great beauty. Ha! Qin Luo laughed coarsely, his shifty eyes staring at demon god He Yan's crotch. Demon god He Yan couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He was a dignified ancient god sovereign, so how could he endure such humiliation? Ha! Eat my saber! The divine flame saber in Qin Luo's hand flashed. He was about to strike. However, at this moment, Ning Tian's voice sounded from the side. Uncle Qin, snatch your head. As soon as his voice faded, thousands of swords flew over and instantly sent demon god Black Flame away. Demon god Black Flame did not expect that he would be so popular that there would be people vying to kill him. That's good stuff. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. Then, under Qin Luo's dumbfounded gaze, he waved his hand and used the heart of the demon to absorb all the demonic aura from demon god Black Flame's body. The power of darkness was also completely absorbed by the unknown tree. Damn! Little brat Ning, you really killed him. You are so heartless. I haven't had my fill yet. It's boring to stay in this seal every day. On the side, Qin Luo cursed and scolded Ning Tian for snatching his head. Ha! Uncle Qin, we are not snatching. We are just doing it in passing. Ning Tian laughed out loud. Why do these words sound so familiar? Qin Luo scratched his head. Husband. At this moment, a voice sounded in the sky. Two beautiful figures stepped out of the void and appeared in front of Ning Tian and Qin Luo with a trace of anxiety. After Luo Wuqing and Sui Weiyao dealt with the Tianma cult, they sensed the terrifying energy here. Because they were too worried about Ning Tian, they rushed over. Hey! Isn't this my precious daughter? When Qin Luo heard the voice from the sky, he looked over and his eyes instantly lit up. Father? Luo Wuqing froze for a moment, and a trace of mist appeared in her beautiful eyes. Even the cold empress could not control her longing for her father. It was human nature. Ha! You have grown so big. Come on, let me take a good look. Qin Luo's face was covered in tears and snot. In a flash, he wanted to hug Luo Wuqing in his arms. Father, I missed you so much. However, without waiting for Qin Luo to hug Luo Wuqing, Ning Tian burrowed into Qin Luo's arms with tears and snot, hugging him tightly. Qin Luo froze for a moment. Who the hell is your father? You heartless brat, don't King disgust me. I don't have a son as big as you. Yes, I am a heartless brat. Ning Tian grinned and secretly wiped his snot on Qin Luo's body. Then he let go of Qin Luo and pulled Luo Wuqing over. He generously held her hand and said, Father, look, isn't this your daughter? Yes, but what does this have to do with you? Qin Luo was still in a daze. Of course it has to do with me. After all, I am your precious daughter's husband, am I right, Father? Father? Ning Tian chuckled. Qin Luo's head was full of question marks. What the *CK? Being addressed as father should be a joyous thing. However, as he looked at that damned brat Ning Tian hugging his precious daughter, Qin Luo suddenly realized why heavenly deity Xing Sun had looked at him with such ferocious eyes back then. There is still one more update. I won't be able to finish it before 12 o'clock. Let's go eat first. I won't miss this update. I will finish it even if I stay up late. Chapter 681. You two really? The corner of Qin Luo's mouth twitched as he looked at the two people hugging each other. Father, what do you think? Ning Tian hugged Luo Wuqing generously and looked at Qin Luo proudly. He called Qin Luo father so intimately that he wished he could lie beside Qin Luo's ear and whisper father. Brat, did I ask you a question? Qin Luo glared at Ning Tian. Seeing this brat hugging his daughter's hand, he felt that he could no longer control his divine flame saber. He really wanted to chop off this pervert's hand. My precious daughter, do you think the two of you are really like what this brat said? Let me say this first. If this is really the case, don't blame your father for crying in front of you. Qin Luo looked at Luo Wuqing pitifully. Ning Tian finally understood that the Luo clan was a family of conmen. Xingyang God was a granddaughter conman, Qin Luo was a daughter conman, and Luo Wuqing was a husband conman. This was ridiculous. Father, Luo Wuqing took a deep breath. Her cold face was full of seriousness. She looked at Ning Tian with some emotions in her eyes and said very seriously, Father, Ning Tian is my husband. Her words were not only affirming that Ning Tian was her husband, but also her husband could only be Ning Tian. Seeing the stubborn look in his daughter's eyes, Qin Luo opened his mouth. He naturally knew his daughter's temper. After all, she had a little temper. Just let her be. Sigh. Qin Luo sighed and pursed his lips. I didn't say that I want to break up the two of you. Why are you so serious? Besides, even if I don't agree, Ning Tian will definitely summon his precious disciple, Ling Ling. The master and disciple will definitely beat me up. I can't beat them. Hearing this, Luo Wuqing couldn't help but laugh. The ice-cold empress finally revealed a light smile in front of her loved ones. It was like a beautiful flower blooming in ice. Looking at Ning Tian hugging his baby daughter, Qin Luo's heart became complicated at this moment. Originally, he thought that Ning Tian was quite handsome, but now in his eyes, Ning Tian was a pig, at most a handsome pig. The most ridiculous thing was, I treated him like a brother, but this dog actually dared to steal my daughter. Qin Luo felt a lump in his throat. Men cry. Crying is not a sin. At this moment, a quiet voice sounded from Ning Tian's mouth. Qin Luo, the two girls. Ah! Smelly brat, I'm going to fight it out with you. You heartless brat. Qin Luo was already in a state of madness. To think that I, your father, have missed you for 1,000,000 years. As soon as we met, you took my precious daughter. Damn you. Father. I'm indeed heartless, but I'm very fragrant. Why don't you ask my wife? Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. Smelly brat, you forced me to do this. Qin Luo rolled up his sleeves. I'd like to see what tricks you have up your sleeve. Ning Tian let go of his wife. Not to be outdone, he would fight it out with him. Bang! Their foreheads were tightly pressed together. Their faces were very ferocious as they glared at each other. My son! Father! Son! Father! Son! Father! Son! Their foreheads were pressed together as they spat saliva at each other. One called him father, while the other called him son. However, Qin Luo should have had a huge advantage by calling him son, but as time passed, he became more and more aggrieved. On the other hand, Ning Tian called him father more and more smoothly. Anyway, to Ning Tian, he had taken advantage of Qin Luo. It didn't matter if Qin Luo called him father a few times. Anyway, in terms of seniority, Qin Luo was indeed his father-in-law. However, to Qin Luo, no matter how he called him, he would lose blood. Smelly brat, damn it, you're really shameless. Qin Luo gritted his teeth, then wiped the saliva off his face and glared at Ning Tian. Ning brat! Come here, I have something to say to you. That look was very fierce, as if there was an irreconcilable hatred between them. Seeing Ning Tian being pulled aside by Qin Luo, the two women couldn't help but frown. They were a little worried. Su Yueao tugged at Luo Wuqing beside her and whispered, "Wuqing, your father looks so fierce. He won't attack our husband, right?" I don't think so." Luo Wuqing frowned. Although she said so, she was still a little worried. She quickly pulled Su Yueao over. These two men were very important to her. She didn't want them to fight. However, when the two women approached, they heard this conversation. "Smelly brat, you've taken advantage of me. You can marry my precious daughter, but you have to pay more." Qin Luo stared fiercely at Ning Tian and seriously sold his daughter out. Good guy. A big scene of cheating his daughter. At the side, Luo Wuqing's pretty face turned cold. The Empress was speechless. Ning Tian raised his eyebrows, then pulled the two women into his arms and looked at Qin Luo with a smile. "Dad, I remember you said that if I have 2 wives, you'll write your name backwards, right? Dad, you can't be so dishonest, right?" "You?" Qin Luo's old face darkened. He was about to act shamelessly, but he heard Ning Tian snort again. "What kind of man are you? Hiss, smelly brat, you win. You tricked me, you tramp." Qin Luo wanted to cry but had no tears. "Speak. What do you want?" "Well, Dad, don't take my betrothal gift money," Ning Tian said with a smile. "Damn it. You want to get a free meal," Qin Luo scolded angrily. Not only did he lose his daughter, but he also didn't get a single cent. A huge loss. A huge loss. At the side, Ning Tian, who saved a lot of money, was grinning from ear to ear. Instead of giving it to Qin Luo, he might as well use the money to buy a few super artifact clothes for his 2 wives. "Oh right. Where's mother-in-law?" Ning Tian thought of something at this time and looked at Qin Luo. Luo Wuqing's mother should be the rich woman that Qin Luo was talking about back then. At the side, Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes flashed with nervousness and anticipation when she heard this. She quickly looked over. Qin Luo's expression was complicated. After a moment of silence, he looked at the entrance of the land of God's demise behind him and sighed. He looked at the 3 of them and said, "Come with me. Once you enter, you'll know." "Okay." Hearing this, Ning Tian and the other 2 nodded heavily and followed Qin Luo to the land of God's demise tribulation. 5 o'clock. Chapter 682. In the center of the land of the fallen gods, there was a black beam of light that reached the sky. It emitted an energy that kept people away. Qin Luo led Ning Tian and the other 2 toward the black beam of light. Once you step into the beam of light, you will arrive at the sealed space in the land of the fallen gods. Qin Luo looked at the black beam of light and said with a serious expression, "Okay, let's go in." Ning Tian nodded slightly. He held the 2 women's hands and stepped into the beam of light. Qin Luo followed behind. Soon, the 4 figures slowly disappeared after stepping into the black beam of light. After a burst of black light, Ning Tian and the others arrived at another space. This was the land of the fallen gods. It was pitch black all around. However, they could see a few balls of flames floating by. "This is the sacred sun flames?" Looking at the familiar balls of flames, Luo Wuqing frowned slightly. A trace of doubt flashed through her beautiful eyes. These red flames were the fire region's Luo clan's fire condensation technique. "Father, I remember that you didn't cultivate the sacred sun flames. Could it be that these are all mothers?" Luo Wuqing looked at Qin Luo in front of her. Hearing those words, Qin Luo's body froze. He looked over with a bitter smile. "You are indeed my daughter. Your observation skills are indeed astonishing. You have taken after me in this aspect. These sacred sun flames were indeed created by your mother. These sacred sun flames are extremely important in this seal." As he spoke, he looked at the surroundings. Then, under the puzzled gazes of Ning Tian and the other 2, a huge aura condensed in his palm. Then, he threw out a palm strike. Boom! In an instant, the originally pitch-black surroundings suddenly brightened up. It was also at this moment that Ning Tian clearly saw thousands of balls of red flames burning around them. He could vaguely see balls of black gas circulating in the sacred sun flames. It was because these balls of sacred sun flames were wrapped around them that they did not spread out. This energy is, Ning Tian couldn't be more familiar with this cloud of black gas. The black gas that the unknown tree absorbed in the land of endless frost, as well as the black gas that it absorbed from the white-haired sword saint and demon god Black Flame, was this. Brat Ning, looks like you've discovered it. Qin Luo glanced at Ning Tian and then looked at the black gas in the sacred sun flames with a serious gaze. He slowly opened his mouth and said, "This aura is the aura left behind by the chaos of darkness. It is called the aura of chaos. The 4 great sealed grounds will give birth to such auras. They seep out from the seal, and if not dealt with in time, it will affect the seal. And the ancient god Yun Tu obtained this chaotic aura through the raging waves' deep sea and studied it." Breath of chaos. Hearing this, Ning Tian and the 2 women frowned. A trace of seriousness flashed across their eyes. Although they did not know how terrifying the chaotic aura was, but anything that was related to the chaotic darkness was ultimately not simple. Ning brat. I think you must have a lot of questions, right? For example, the heavenly pressure in the fallen god's land. Qin Luo's gaze fell on Ning Tian as he asked faintly. Hearing this, Ning Tian was silent for a moment and nodded slightly. Previously, there was indeed a powerful heavenly pressure in the fallen god's land. But why is that heavenly pressure gone now? Also, as ancient gods, why can you pass through the heavenly barrier? Indeed, when Wu Qing and I came here, the heavenly pressure in the fallen god's land did disappear. But I think it should be related to the chaotic aura that Uncle Qin mentioned. At the side, Su Yueyao's fox ears swayed as she asked tentatively. Haha. As expected of the possessor of the 9-tailed fox bloodline. Your ability has far surpassed the 9-tailed fox. Qin Luo laughed loudly. Then, he nodded with a serious face. Just like what your mistress said, the heavenly suppression of the land of the fallen gods has been wiped out by the group of people from the ancient god Yun Tu with the chaotic breath. What? The heavenly pressure was erased by the chaotic aura? Hearing this, Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing, and Su Yueyao were stunned for a moment before their expressions changed slightly. Even, the heavenly pressure could be erased by the chaotic aura? This chaos aura, was it really that terrifying? And they also have this chaotic aura. That's why they can hide from the heavenly Tao and pass through the heavenly barrier. Qin Luo's voice slowly rang in their ears again. You have to know. The true power of the dark turmoil is comparable to the heavenly Tao. And the true purpose of the ancient god Yun Tu is to obtain the true power of the dark turmoil, overthrow the old heavenly Tao, and become the king of Tianxian continent. Qin Luo's words rang in this space and fell heavily into everyone's hearts. The true power of the dark turmoil is comparable to the heavenly Tao, and the true purpose of the ancient god Yun Tu is to seize this power, overthrow the old heavenly Tao, and become the new king. These guys. I didn't expect them to have such ambitions. Luo Wuqing gritted her teeth and muttered. At the side, Ning Tian was silent. Regarding the ambition of the ancient god Yun Tu, even if he knew, he wasn't surprised. But if he really wanted to fight, he could just crush them. At this moment, he was thinking about something more worthy of contemplation. The true power of the dark turmoil is comparable to the heavenly Tao, and the chaotic aura absorbed by the unknown tree is the product of the seal of the dark turmoil. Then what do these two represent? What kind of changes will happen to the unknown tree after absorbing the chaotic aura? And why does Qin Luo know so much? Could it be the knowledge of these millions of years of experience? Then why didn't the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace know? And when Qin Luo knew that he was his son-in-law, although he was shocked, why didn't the system prompt him? At this moment, Ning Tian seemed to have become 100,000 wise, and there were many doubts in his heart. Little Ning, what's wrong with you? Are you scared? Seeing that Ning Tian was silent, Qin Luo couldn't help but pat his shoulder and tease him. Ning Tian shook his head. He wasn't scared. His eyes fell on Qin Luo, and there was a flash of curiosity in his eyes. It seems, in these millions of years, his father-in-law has become mysterious. Little Ning? Why are you staring at me? You already have my daughter, it's impossible for you and me to be together. Seeing Ning Tian's gaze, Qin Luo instantly crossed his arms and looked cautious, causing his daughter to look at him with disdain. So, where's my wife's mother? Ning Tian was troubled by doubts at this moment, which made him serious. At this moment, he just wanted to solve this mystery. She's above our heads? Hearing this, Qin Luo instantly became serious. He raised his head and pointed to the top of everyone's heads. Old rules. Chapter 683. Above us. Ning Tianhe and the two girls were stunned. Then, they slowly raised their heads. They saw. The originally pitch-black sky was instantly lit up by flames. A gigantic array of raging flames appeared in the sky. The array was huge, at least several thousand meters in length. The array was precise and the flames swept across. As the array rotated clockwise, the terrifying sealing power began to leak out. Hubby, look over there! Su Yueyao's beautiful eyes looked towards the center of the raging flames array and couldn't help but exclaim. Ning Tian raised his brows and looked at where Su Yueyao was pointing. The moment he looked over, his pupils shrank. He saw a noblewoman in a red dress sitting cross-legged in the center of the 1,000-meter wide array formation. She was covered in red flames and beads of sweat were dripping down her forehead. The lady in the red dress was graceful, and her appearance was somewhat similar to Luo Wuqing's. Wife, she should be our mother-in-law, right? Looking at the lady in the red dress in the center of the array, Ning Tian frowned and looked at Luo Wuqing with a trace of doubt. She is my mother, Luo Wei. Luo Wuqing's gaze fell on the lady in the red dress, sitting in the center of the array. Her red lips parted slightly and she nodded and said slowly. This seal, although I am the guardian, I need wire to help me suppress the chaotic aura. That is why you are seeing this scene. At the side, Qin Luo sighed. His tone was somewhat helpless. Uncle Qin, can't you suppress it? In terms of strength, you should be stronger than Wuqing's mother, right? Hearing this, Su Yueyao couldn't help but ask curiously. Of course I am stronger than wire, but I can't suppress the chaotic aura. Qin Luo shook his head helplessly. It was because he couldn't suppress it that he needed Luo Wei's help. You can't suppress the chaotic aura? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and looked at Qin Luo. Cough, kid, don't ask too much. Qin Luo coughed and changed the topic. His gaze gradually turned serious. He looked at Ning Tian and asked in a deep voice, Kid, the Buddha Demon Pagoda is with you, right? How did you know? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and then frowned slightly. Sure enough, when we were in the land of the fallen gods, you secretly attacked the two demon experts. I just took a breather. Qin Luo didn't deny it and then released another important piece of news. More importantly, it was me and Wei who shot the Buddha Demon Tower down to the land of the fallen gods from the hands of the fiend celestial Scarlet Flame. Huh! So, it was you? Hearing this, Ning Tian and Su Yueyao suddenly understood. At that time, they were still wondering why the fiend celestial Scarlet Flame, a godly realm expert, had even lost the Buddha's Devil Pagoda. So it was because Qin Luo and Luo Wei had acted in secret. After the fiend celestial Scarlet Flame's Devil Pagoda was taken away by the two of them, he had unfortunately encountered Ning Tian and Su Yueyao. Then, Ning Tian knew the exact location of the Buddha Demon Pagoda and came to the land of the fallen gods to obtain it. In that case, the fiend celestial Red Flame was too pitiful. First, he was frightened by a true expert. Then, he was frightened by the movie king Ning Tian. It was too pitiful. You deliberately sent the Buddha demon pagoda into the heavenly spirit region so that I could obtain it? Ning Tian frowned and looked at Qin Luo. It was on purpose. But it wasn't my intention. Qin Luo spread his hands and said helplessly, I was ordered by someone. Anyway, you have the Buddha demon pagoda. That's enough. Ordered by someone? By who? Could it be the master of the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace? Ning Tian frowned. Not really. Qin Luo curled his lips and said disdainfully, that old man is just like me. He's just a tool. How could he order me around? Then who is it? Hearing this, Ning Tian was even more curious. Qin Luo and the master of the heavenly palace were ordered by someone. But who was this person? Ning boy, I can't tell you. Qin Luo shook his head. Wife, go. Burn your father's beard. Seeing this, Ning Tian waved his hand and Luo Wuqing, who was beside him, really opened his palm. A ball of heavenly fire appeared in his fair palm. Damn! You're helping an outsider. Seeing this, Qin Luo's old face darkened. He protected the beard that he was so proud of and then sighed. You don't have to force me. I won't tell you even if you force me. Ning Tian, you'll know about this in the future. Hearing this, Ning Tian fell silent. At this moment, Qin Luo was like a spirit. It was as if he was hiding something from him. What had happened in the millions of years that he had been gone? Ning boy, let me see the pagoda demon tower. Seeing that the two of them were not forcing him, Qin Luo was relieved. He put down his hand and looked at Ning Tian. Okay. Ning Tian nodded slightly. Since Qin Luo knew about the existence of the Buddha's demon pagoda, there was no need to hide it from him. Then, with a flip of his hand, a ball of black qi appeared in his hand. The black qi slowly dissipated, revealing a small, pitch-black pagoda. How did the demonic qi become so heavy? It seems, the pagoda demon tower has changed a lot in your hands. Qin Luo's gaze fell on the pagoda demon tower. He raised his eyebrows and asked again, how many floors have you opened? The 2nd floor. Ning Tian spread his hands and said helplessly. The pagoda demon tower had a total of 12 floors. However, only 2 floors had been opened. It was indeed a little slow. But it was not that he wanted to slow down. It was just that the demonic qi could not open more floors of the pagoda demon tower. The 2nd floor? This speed is not too fast or too slow. Keep the pagoda demon tower. This thing is not simple. Qin Luo nodded and said. Okay, let's take it slow. Ning Tian waved his hand and put away the Buddha Devil Pagoda again. From what eldest senior sister had said, the Buddha Devil Pagoda should be the first pagoda to resist the power of darkness. Moreover, it should have a certain relationship with the number of floors of the pagoda that could be opened. Everyone fell silent. Father, could it be that this seal will always be guarded by Mother? At this moment Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes fell on the raging flame array. Her red lips moved slightly and said, It can't be helped. If Wei air leaves without the existence of these flames, the dark turbulence will interfere with the seal. If there is a mistake with the seal, the consequences will be unimaginable. Qin Luo sighed and said helplessly, no one wanted their wife to work so hard. However, he had no choice. Hearing this, Luo Wuqing frowned. Perhaps, I have an idea. Ning Tian could not bear to see his wife troubled. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly and he said with a light smile. There are still 4 chapters. I'm still writing. Don't wait. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Take a rest and start writing again at 1 in the morning. At 5 in the morning, the 4 chapters will be published together. Chapter 684. Husband, do you have a way? Hearing this, Luo Wuqing looked over with a hint of anticipation in her beautiful eyes. Of course. Ning Tian chuckled, then looked at Luo Wei in the center of the formation and said slowly, The reason why mother-in-law has to be in the center of the formation is to suppress the chaotic aura of the land of God perdition. So, it's easy for mother-in-law to leave. Just let something replace mother-in-law to suppress the chaotic aura. Hearing this, the two women looked at Ning Tian with anticipation. After Qin Luo heard this, a glint flashed in his eyes and he remained silent. "Honey, step back," Ning Tian said to the two women. Then, without caring that Qin Luo was still beside him, he silently urged the unknown tree's devouring power to devour the chaotic aura around him first. Anyway, his father-in-law was an ancient god sovereign. Even if the chaotic aura went berserk, he wouldn't die. When the unknown tree in the small world of his Dantian received Ning Tian's order, it directly erupted with a terrifying devouring power. At the same time, the chaotic aura enveloped by the holy sun flames in the entire space began to break free from the flames and rush toward Ning Tian. When the chaotic aura dissipated, the holy sun flames also turned into energy and returned to Luo Wei's body in the center of the formation. Her tightly knitted brows couldn't help but frown as if she sensed something. "Husband?" Seeing so many chaotic auras rushing toward Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing and Sui Weiyao couldn't help but look at him worriedly. After hearing Qin Luo say that these chaotic auras were terrifying and now that they were rushing toward Ning Tian, the two women couldn't help but worry. "Don't worry, these chaotic auras are useless to me." Ning Tian shook his head, indicating that the two women didn't need to worry, and waved his hand again. Boom! In an instant, the devouring power of the unknown tree in the small world of his Dantian erupted even more terrifying. In an instant, Ning Tian's body was covered with pitch-black chaotic aura. After the chaotic aura lingered on his body for a while, it rushed into his Dantian. He absorbed the breath of chaos. Qin Luo's eyes narrowed when he witnessed this scene, and a wisp of shock flashed through his eyes. This had shocked his father-in-law for an entire year. "Looks like, it really is him, it can only be him." Qin Luo sucked in a breath of cold air, and couldn't help but shake his head. His gaze fell on Ning Tian and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. How many more secrets does this kid have? You shocked your father-in-law. Reward: tree projection. You can project the shadow of the unknown tree and station it in one place. The shadow can also absorb energy and return the absorbed energy to the main body of the unknown tree. When the unknown tree absorbed the breath of chaos, the system's voice rang in Ning Tian's mind again. This time, he had finally managed to shock his father-in-law for once. Phew! When the surrounding chaotic aura was absorbed by the unknown tree in his body, Ning Tian let out a long sigh of relief. His divine sense fell into the small world in his Dantian. At this moment, the unknown tree that was only a dozen meters tall had grown to more than 20 meters tall. Next is to use the tree projection, Ning Tian muttered. Before he shocked Qin Luo, his original plan was to break off a small branch from the unknown tree and insert it into the formation. This would definitely suppress the chaotic aura here, but he couldn't say for sure what kind of effect it would have. By doing this, although it was effective, there was a certain amount of risk. But now that he had the tree projection, the risk was avoided and there was an effect. Now we just have to get our mother down. Ning Tian looked at Luo Wei, who was in the center of the formation, and said slowly, "I'll do it," Qin Luo said in a deep voice. Then, he moved and stepped onto the formation. Looking at the sweaty and weak Luo Wei, he couldn't help but sigh with heartache. However, he wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he looked at Ning Tian. "Little Ning, the moment I take Luo Wei away from the formation, you must ensure that your method works. You only have 3 seconds. Are you sure you can do it?" Qin Luo wanted to ensure the stability of the sealed land. There couldn't be any mistakes. "Don't worry. Leave it to me." Ning Tian's lips curled into a confident smile. "Okay." Seeing this, Qin Luo didn't say anything else. He reached out and hugged Luo Wei in his arms. Then, he retreated quickly. Boom! Boom boom! When Luo Wei left the center of the formation, the entire formation instantly shook, and an enormous black qi spread out. On the other hand, the strange black qi within the seal started to flow violently. That was a void beast. Little Ning. Now. At this moment, Qin Luo's shout rang out. Yes. Ning Tian nodded. The spirit energy in his hand surged, and he suddenly raised his hand. He aimed at the center of the array and used the tree projection. At that moment, his large hand also suddenly fell. Boom! In an instant, the shadow of a towering tree rose from the ground in the center of the formation and replaced Luo Wei's original position. At the same time, the chaotic aura that leaked out from the seal also continuously flowed towards the Tree of Shadows. The originally violent formation quieted down at this moment. Phew, it's finally a success. Ning Tian heaved a long sigh of relief. He could feel that the chaotic aura that was absorbed by the shadow tree had already flowed into the unknown tree. In this way, the unknown tree could steadily absorb the chaotic aura energy in the land of divine fall tribulation. Fortunately, Qin Luo also heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he hurriedly looked at Luo Wei in his arms. Wei however. Before he could take a good look at his wife, he saw her being snatched away by his precious daughter. She took out a handkerchief and carefully wiped the sweat on his wife's forehead. Seeing this scene, the corner of Qin Luo's mouth could not help but twitch. This is little Ning snatched his daughter, and his daughter snatched his wife. Wuqing, here are some healing elixirs from Ling, feed them to Auntie. On the side, Sui Weiyao took out a small jade bottle from her arms and handed it to Luo Wuqing. Okay. Luo Wuqing nodded. Luo Wei was now in an extremely weak state and urgently needed elixirs to recover her energy. Seeing this, Qin Luo did not say anything. It seemed that he could only wait for these little fellows to leave before he could communicate with his wife. He shook his head, then looked at the shadow tree and asked, Little Ning, what is this? Just a little trick. Ning Tian casually waved his hand. At this moment, he discovered a trace of surprise. When the unknown tree in the small world in his dantian absorbed the chaotic aura around it, it seemed to want to replenish a huge amount of energy for him. This energy, it might help him break through in one go. Chapter 685. Why don't I use this opportunity to break through to the ancient god realm in one go? Ning Tian murmured. A bold idea popped up in his mind. Since he was almost at the peak of the heavenly god realm, he might as well try to break through while the unknown tree could convert the chaotic aura into energy to replenish him. With this idea in mind, Ning Tian told the two women about it. Husband, are you going to cultivate in seclusion here? Luo Wuqing frowned and asked. This place is related to the chaotic aura seal. Husband, isn't it a little unsafe for you to cultivate in seclusion here? Sui Weiyao asked worriedly. Haha. Don't worry. The chaotic aura here can't do anything to your husband. Seeing his two wives so worried about him, Ning Tian couldn't help but laugh. He couldn't wait to hug the two women in his arms and give them a big kiss. With such women, what more could a husband ask for? However, no. Of course we know that the chaotic aura can't do anything to you, husband. We're just worried that the commotion caused by your breakthrough might destroy the seal here. Sui Weiyao and Luo Wuqing shook their heads at the same time and said seriously. After returning to the 9 regions, they couldn't help but mention the story of Ning Tian's house being destroyed after his breakthrough. Moreover, the two women were deeply moved. Ning Tian. So love disappeared so quickly. I was too careless. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Ning Tian waved his hand slightly. Seeing the two women hesitating to speak, he couldn't help but chuckle and rub their heads. All right. Take our mother back to the Tianma cult first. Our father and I are here. Nothing will happen. Hearing this, the two women nodded hesitantly. All right. Go back to the Tianma cult obediently and wait for me to come back. Okay, then come back soon. After saying this to Ning Tian, Luo Wuqing carried Luo away in her arms and left the land of divine fall with Sui Weiyao. Sigh, you can't take back the water that has been spilled. Qin Luo sighed. Then, he glanced at Ning Tian and said indifferently, Little Ning, you sent them away. It shouldn't be as simple as cultivation, right? Of course. Ning Tian smiled and nodded. Then, he wrapped his arms around his father-in-law's neck and looked at him with a smile. Brat, what are you trying to do? Qin Luo gulped. Naturally, I have something to ask you, father-in-law. After all, there are some things that you won't tell me if my wife is here, Ning Tian said slowly with a smile. Is this called a secret between men? Don't, it's disgusting. Qin Luo had a look of disgust on his face. Then, he pushed Ning Tian aside and said, Speak. What do you want to ask me? A lot. For example, why did you marry into the Luo clan? With your strength, even the strongest person in the fire domain, Ancestor Fan Tian, shouldn't be stronger than you. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and asked calmly. Could it be, is the fire domain's bowl of soft rice that good? Ahem. Qin Luo coughed dryly and said, Of course it's good. Otherwise, why do you think I married into the fire domain? I thought? Haha. I thought that you didn't want my wife to take your surname, or the Qin clan or the Heavenly Demon clan has some secret, right? Ning Tian deduced with a calm expression. From the information in the Demon God Stone Book of the Heavenly Demon cult, he knew that Qin Luo belonged to the Heavenly Demon clan. In other words, the entire Qin village was a member of the Heavenly Demon clan. It was likely that the thing that had to be sealed with the Black Strange seal had a lot to do with the Heavenly Demon clan. As expected of you. Qin Luo sighed after a moment of silence. Indeed. One of the main reasons I married into the Luo family was to prevent Wuqing from taking the surname Qin. Although she has the Heavenly Demon bloodline, the surname is the key to unlocking it. That's the main reason. The Heavenly Demon bloodline contains the secret of the dark turmoil. The secret of the dark turmoil? Ning Tian frowned and a glint flashed in his eyes. He asked again, What secret? Don't I have to ask you? How would I know? Qin Luo said unhappily. Ask me? Hearing this, Ning Tian was even more confused. It's nothing. In short, the Heavenly Demon clan is very important to you, which is now the Tianma cult of the God domain. Grasp it well, Ning boy. Qin Luo shook his head and patted his shoulder earnestly. The future is long. I hope that the right path is the one under your feet. After saying this, no matter what Ning Tian asked, Qin Luo didn't want to say much. He just casually recounted what happened in the past million years. When Ning Tian suddenly disappeared, he, Ling, and Qin village expanded the Tianma cult. But just as the Tianma cult was about to rise to fame, they suddenly made a decision to freeze the entire Tianjin cult. After freezing the Tianjin cult, Ling chose to stay in the Southern Frost Astral Sea, and he went to the Blaze domain. Until time passed. Later, when he came to the seal of the 9 domains guardians, he sighed inwardly. He met the Heavenly Demon, the first leader of the Tianjin cult of the 9 domains. When he saw that the Heavenly Demon was also a Heavenly Demon, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. He gave the Heavenly Demon some advice, but he didn't expect the Heavenly Demon to establish a cult of his own. That was how the 9 domains Tianjin cult came to be. It could be said to be a coincidence, or it could also be said to be fate. But at that time, Qin Luo hadn't really taken over the seal. It wasn't until he became the 7th leader of the Tianjin cult and gave birth to Luo Wuqing with Luo Wei that he took over the seal of the land of divine fall. Then, who was the one who guarded this place before? Ning Tian asked with a frown. It's nothing, just a primordial ancient god. He died a long time ago. Qin Luo waved his hand nonchalantly. A primordial ancient god, Ning Tian murmured. Then, he chuckled and looked at Qin Luo. Dad, I'm almost done with my questions. Next, I'll have to trouble you to protect me. He, as expected of me, having my father-in-law protect me. Got it? Brat, you only know how to order people around. Qin Luo rolled his eyes at Ning Tian. Phew, then, let's see if I can become a supreme ancient god. Ning Tian heaved a long sigh of relief. A glint flashed in his eyes. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began to let the unknown tree in the small world in his dantian absorb the chaotic aura of the seal, providing it with a huge amount of energy. Soon Ning Tian's body was enveloped in a cloud of black gas. His aura began to rise continuously. At the side, Qin Luo crossed his legs and sat down in the void. His eyes fell on Ning Tian. He murmured inwardly, the past, the present, and the future. Are these your space-time? 2 more chapters. I'm still writing. Chapter 686. At this moment, in the land of God-fall calamity, the huge raging flame formation was operating slowly, emitting endless suppressive power. In the center of the formation, there was an illusory tree swaying and growing. Behind the seal, there were countless pairs of eyes outside the seal. There was a figure sitting cross-legged. Ning Tian had been in seclusion for a month. Although his aura was very strong, there was still no sign of him coming out of seclusion. This brat. Why is he in seclusion for so long? Could it be he really wants to break through to the ancient god realm in one go? At the side, Qin Luo frowned and looked at Ning Tian. At this moment, Ning Tian's aura was strong enough for him to break through a small level. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he could break through to the ancient god realm. However, he did not move at all. There was only one possibility. This brat wanted to break through to the ancient god realm in one go. He even wanted to pass the ancient god tribulation in one go. One should know that although ancient gods were divided into stars, their stars were raised through the ancient god tribulation. The thing that Ning Tian was least afraid of was the heavenly tribulation. What a terrifying brat, but after thinking about it, it's normal. Qin Luo sighed. However, halfway through his sentence, he frowned and looked at the huge raging flame seal. There were countless pairs of strange eyes staring at them from the seal. There was fear, anger, sadness, despair, and all kinds of emotions in their eyes. Why are these void beasts so restless after this brat went into seclusion? During this 1 month, as Ning Tian went into seclusion, the void beasts outside the seal became restless. Could it be all of this was related to this brat? Qin Luo frowned and looked outside the seal. You guys behave yourselves. Sooner or later, I will chase you guys out of the mysterious sky world. Woo woo, roar roar. After Qin Luo said that, the void beasts inside the seal became even more restless. While Ning Tian was in seclusion, the ancient god realm, Eastern Prison Starfield and Eastern God Realm were not peaceful. What? Even the white-haired sword saint and the black flame demon god were killed. Is the curse god that strong? A few dozen figures floated up into appearance within a grand hall in the ancient god domain. Many of them possessed extraordinary statuses in the entire ancient god domain, and most of them were renowned experts in the ancient god domain in the last 1,000,000 years. For example, the overlord of the demon divine region 1,000,000 years ago, the heavenly demon supreme god, the former king of the demon region, the nightmare demon god, and so on. However, everyone in the divine region thought that they were dead. However, that was not the case. They had all joined the ancient god Cloud Atlas. In other words, there were at least several dozen ancient god realm experts here. Many of them were even ancient god sovereigns. And this was the true foundation of the ancient god Cloud Atlas. It's not just cursing the gods. In the main hall, suddenly, the dozens of ancient gods present all looked over. Not just cursing God? They were all puzzled. There's also the Heavenly Palace's ancestral master, who recently rose to fame. The ancient heavenly god said calmly. Heavenly palaces. Ancestral master? The 10th person of the heavenly god body. Without the chaotic aura, how did he cross the barrier of the heavenly Tao and reach the 9 regions? The former overlord of the demon divine region, the heavenly demon supreme god, could not help but frown and ask. Naturally, he has his own methods. The ancient heavenly god did not say much, and his expression was very calm. However, it doesn't matter. If he's dead, then he's dead. It's a pity that the white-haired sword saint is the only exception. That black flame demon god was only promoted by the chaotic aura. We can still create ancient god sovereigns like him. That's true. Hearing the ancient heavenly god's words, the surrounding people nodded. The chaotic aura could not only avoid the heavenly Tao, but it could also increase one's strength. However, forcibly increasing one's strength would not be able to withstand a true breakthrough. Take some time out and make a trip to the 9 regions. Lord Ancient Heavenly God, you mean to go to the 9 regions and avenge the white-haired sword saint and the others? Hearing this, the nightmare demon god frowned and asked. No, what I mean is that you all go to the firmament territory and guard the raging sea. I don't need too many people, just a few of you will be enough. At the same time, you can collect more chaotic aura, the ancient heavenly god said calmly. Hearing this, the surrounding ancient gods fell silent. What's wrong? You're not willing? The ancient heavenly god's tone turned cold. No, since Lord Ancient Heavenly God has spoken, we are naturally willing. However, Lord Ancient Heavenly God, your true body and that Lord, when will you come out of the sealed land? The Sky Monster Supreme God, Nightmare Demon God, and the others asked carefully. Although the Ancient Heavenly God was a heavenly god, this was only one of his clones. His true strength was naturally at the ancient god realm. Otherwise, why would this group of people obey his orders? However, the ancient heavenly god Yun-Tu and the others were clearly concerned about the big shot behind the ancient heavenly god, the creator of the ancient heavenly god Yun-Tu. He was also the one who had modified the chaotic aura for them to use. Don't worry. You will know very soon. The ancient heavenly god waved his hand. Send a few people over. That's all. Disperse. Yes. Hearing these words in the main hall, dozens of powerful auras quickly dissipated after bowing to the ancient heavenly god. Lord, after everyone had left, the ancient heavenly god looked up at the main hall and bowed slightly to the air. His expression was extremely solemn. Boom! The strange thing was, after he bowed, a black-robed figure slowly appeared in the main hall. His voice was incomparably cold. His face was hidden under a black mask, revealing only a pair of emotionless eyes. It's starting to move in the direction of my speculation. However, after millions of failures, what is correct? What is failure? Another month later, it had been 2 months since Ning Tian went into seclusion. The 9 regions. Heavenly Spirit Region. The land of divine fall tribulation. Oh my God, that stinky brat, is he really going to blow up my sealed land? If it does, he can't blame me. Qin Luo looked at the powerful black aura that enveloped Ning Tian's body and could not help but swallow his saliva. He was somewhat worried. At this moment, Ning Tian's aura had already become extremely terrifying. Phew, it's about time for a breakthrough, he muttered in his heart. Then, his aura began to surge. At the same time, the void beasts within the raging flame seal became restless again. Boom! These void beasts seemed to have been stimulated. They kept ramming against the seal. From the looks of it, they were trying to break the seal. What's going on? Seeing this, Qin Luo instantly frowned and pulled out his divine flame saber. This was the first time he had seen such a situation of void beasts going berserk. One more update. Chapter 687. Boom. At this moment, The void beasts within the seal seemed to have gone mad as they kept charging towards the seal. Boom! Boom! The entire seal shook under the impact. Qin Luo pulled out his flaming saber. The aura of an ancient god sovereign was unleashed at this moment, and a huge amount of spiritual energy circulated around his body. As long as these void beasts showed signs of breaking through, he would attack. But the problem was, he could suppress the void beasts, but he could not repair the seal. Oh my God, I only hope nothing happens to the seal. I don't want to be the scapegoat. Qin Luo cursed as he prayed in his heart. At this moment, Ning Tian sat cross-legged at the side. The aura in his body surged as he prepared to break through. Host is breaking through. Host is breaking through to the 9 stars heavenly god realm. Host is breaking through to the ancient god realm. Host is undergoing the ancient god tribulation. The system's voice kept ringing in his mind. Ning Tian's aura was like a hot knife through butter as it continued to rise. Then, dark clouds covered the sky above the land of divine fall tribulation. Lightning flashed, containing a terrifying aura. Huh! This brat chose to undergo the tribulation here? Feeling the changes, Qin Luo's eyes flashed. Looking at the void beasts that were rampaging in the seal, he could not help but worry. Ning Tian was breaking through now. What if the seal was destroyed? But there was nothing he could do to stop it. Damn it, this brat, he just has to increase the difficulty for me. Qin Luo cursed as he clenched his flaming saber. He was already prepared. As long as Ning Tian's ancient god tribulation fell from the sky, he would rush out and slash it. This way, he would not have to worry about Ning Tian failing the tribulation or the seal being destroyed. I'm so smart. Qin Luo grinned. Then, a wisp of spiritual energy flashed in his eyes. He looked up and his expression changed instantly. Damn! This is the ancient god tribulation? Why is it so different from what I imagined? In the sky, the lightning tribulation was huge. It was dozens of times bigger than the ordinary ancient god tribulation. Each one was like a dragon. They were thick, huge, and ferocious. Hiss, but even so, with my strength, it's not a problem for me to deal with them. Qin Luo sucked in a breath of cold air, but he quickly raised the divine flame saber in his hand, ready to split the lightning tribulation in half. However, right at this moment, above these massive supreme ancient divine lightning bolts, there were streaks of black gas. This is? Qin Luo's pupil shrank. F***ck. This brat's ancient god thunder tribulation has the aura of chaos? While Qin Luo was still in a daze, the ancient god's lightning tribulation also came crashing down. Qin Luo raised his divine flame saber and charged forward, wanting to split apart the lightning tribulation. But something strange happened again. The tribulation had bypassed him. It slashed downwards. This lightning tribulation has a way to dodge it? Qin Luo was dumbfounded, and in the next moment, he was even more dumbfounded. He saw the ancient god's lightning tribulation was not aimed at Ning Tian, nor was it aimed at the seal. Instead, it penetrated the seal and went straight for the void beast that was constantly rampaging within the seal. Qin Luo. At this moment inside the Tianma cult, many people saw the pitch-black sky not far away. This chapter is too short. I can't write anymore. There are still 3 more updates tonight. Chapter 688. Not far away. It was the land of the fallen god tribulation. Dark clouds covered the sky, and one could faintly see bolts of tribulation lightning surging. Even from thousands of miles away, the people of the heavenly demon cult could feel how terrifying it was. Hiss, what's going on? Which Taoist is undergoing tribulation there? Outside the demonic palace, the Grand Elder silently put away the imperial maiden portrait in his hand and looked up at the sky with a frown. Is there a need to think? It's definitely the ancestral master. Who else could it be? There's a rumor in the Tianma cult that whenever there's a heavenly anomaly, we should think of the ancestral master first, Zhu Yuanbo said quietly as he chewed on his horsewhip. Ancestral master. Beside them, the sky demon cultists appeared rather excited at those words. It's been 2 months since the ancestral master appeared in front of them and saved them from the abyss of suffering. They didn't even have time to say a word to the ancestral master. However, according to the Empress and the sacred leader, the ancestral master was only in seclusion. They believed that when he came out, he would return to the Tianma cult, the land of divine calamity. This is the ancient divine lightning. At this moment, a gentle voice sounded. The Tianma cult members turned around. They saw a noble lady in a red dress walking over. Her body emitted a powerful aura, and there was a trace of gentleness between her brows. Beside her were 2 beautiful women. The Empress and her mother are walking together. Those who don't know might think they're a pair of sisters. Seeing this scene, the Tianma cult members couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Luo Wuqing looked at the sky with a pair of blue eyes. Her expression was very calm as she said slowly, "Mother, don't worry. Husband should have come out of seclusion. He'll be confident." Hearing this, Luo Wei couldn't help but smile. She turned her head and looked at the 2 women with a gentle expression. "The more I listen to you, the more I want to know what kind of young man can steal your hearts." "Mother," Luo Wuqing's cold face couldn't help but blush. "Haha. Auntie, you will see her soon." Sui Weiyao chuckled and looked at the sky not far away. "Is that so?" Luo Wei smiled as she looked at the 2 women beside her. She was curious about the son-in-law she had yet to meet. "When I see my son-in-law, I'll take you to cultivate and help you break through to the ancient god realm. Yes. In the land of divine calamity." Countless bolts of lightning fell. The void beasts within the raging flame seal array looked at the bolts of lightning with fear. Most of the bolts of lightning that cultivators faced were condensed from the power of the heavenly Tao. Even if the true power of the dark turmoil was able to go against the heavenly axiom, it was obvious that this was only a product of the dark turmoil. Furthermore, Ning Tian's lightning tribulation was no ordinary lightning tribulation. His lightning tribulation not only contained the might of the heavenly Tao, it also contained the aura of chaos. Most importantly, the lightning tribulation did not strike him. F***CK. He's trying to murder his father-in-law. Qin Luo turned his waist and dodged a lightning tribulation that was 100 meters away from his feet. He was shocked. Although the lightning tribulation did not destroy the seal, but he and the void beasts were not so lucky. Amidst the exclamations, the lightning tribulation continued to fall from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. The seal seemed to have turned into a land of lightning. The power of the lightning tribulation was condensing in it. After the void beasts were struck by the lightning tribulation, their bodies exploded, turning into clouds of black gas and dissipating. These void beasts also possess the most essential power of the aura of chaos. Seeing this, a glint flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. As the lightning tribulations fell, his aura rose steadily. 1 tribulation, that means I'm a 1-star supreme ancient god. Sure enough, to break through to the next realm through lightning tribulation, it's as easy as drinking water for me. Ning Tian could not help but murmur as he sensed his own strength. Indeed, he had faced countless tribulations along the way. However, his lightning tribulation seemed to have never struck him before. When the ancestral master faced his tribulation, others suffered. Then let's face a few more lightning tribulations and absorb some of the aura of chaos. Ning Tian sat cross-legged in the sky. Her gaze was indifferent as she looked at the ugly void beasts that were continuously struggling in the raging flame seal. If the dark turmoil was devouring people's hearts, then these were probably the ugliest side of people's hearts. Since he could let the lightning tribulation strike the void beasts and extract the most essential power of the void beasts, which was the aura of chaos, He would take the opportunity to let the unknown tree absorb more and grow faster. Phew! He heaved a sigh of relief and closed his eyes again. This brat, he's doing it again? Qin Luo frowned and his heart was beating wildly. As an ancient god sovereign, he was naturally not afraid of the supreme ancient god lightning tribulation that Ning Tian was facing. However, even if the first lightning tribulation did not hurt the seal, it did not mean that every lightning tribulation would not hurt the seal. Damn! This brat, he's dancing in the lightning zone repeatedly. Qin Luo swallowed his saliva. This brat is King messing around. However, he had done such a crazy thing before. He did not care about such a small matter anymore. Motherf Ker. Brat, if you want to transcend the tribulation, hurry up and do it. Even if you're transcending the sovereign's ancient divine lightning, I'll still help you. Qin Luo cursed and roared at Ning Tian. All right. Next time, I'll have to trouble you to help me face the sovereign ancient god lightning. However, in the sky, Ning Tian's leisurely voice sounded. Qin Luo was confused. He continued to curse, Brat, I'll *ck you. You're so *king heartless. Ha! Ning Tian chuckled. Then, his aura settled in his body, and he started to face the tribulation again. In the sky, dark clouds covered the sky again. The lightning tribulation lasted for several hours. Qin Luo and the void beasts in the seal suffered even more. They had been trapped in the array for so long. Although they were sealed, they had only lost their freedom. The guardians of the seal could not harm them. But who would have thought, until a young man in black came over and faced the tribulation above their heads. Several hours later, the land of divine calamity had truly become a land of divine calamity. The surrounding land was charred black, and there were still hundreds of millions of traces of lightning tribulation remaining. There was still a lot of chaos in the entire sealed land. These were all transformed from the void beasts that had been struck to death by the lightning tribulation. At the center of the seal, the shadowy tree was also madly absorbing the chaotic aura. Phew! In the sky, Ning Tian slowly opened his eyes and murmured, 5 tribulations in one go. It's still a little difficult. The higher I go, the longer the lightning tribulation will be and the more powerful it will be. I can't waste it. Chapter 689. That's right, to the founder. He didn't care about the power of the lightning tribulation. What he cared about was that the lightning tribulation was too much of a waste of time. Moreover, the stronger the lightning tribulation was, the more powerful it would be for him to deal with his enemies. The ancient gods rely on the lightning tribulation to increase their strength. This means that I still have many chances to deal with the lightning tribulation. Ning Tian said calmly, his eyes shining. He was even thinking about whether he should go to the nest of the ancient god Yun Tu when he broke through to the ancient god's sovereign level and undergo the lightning tribulation there, letting them bathe in the lightning tribulation. After all, the lightning tribulation was the purest power of the heavenly Tao. His founder was such a good person to let them bathe in the heavenly Tao. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to a 5-star supreme ancient god. In his mind, the system's voice sounded. Hearing this, Ning Tian patted the charred spot on his butt caused by the lightning tribulation and stood up in satisfaction. However, when he stood up, he sighed. Sigh, I was accidentally injured by the lightning tribulation. Accidentally injured? Damn you! This is your heavenly tribulation, and you've only been struck once. Moreover, it was the smallest lightning tribulation. What about me? How many times did I get struck? Damn you! At the side, the sound of cursing could be heard. Father, you can curse all you want, but why do you have to be invisible? Ning Tian looked around and couldn't help but frown slightly. I'll hide your ass, Qin Luo cursed. Then, he opened his eyes and revealed his pearly white teeth. It was also at this moment that Ning Tian finally saw those gleaming white teeth in the darkness. She could recognize him just by looking at his teeth. The current Qin Luo's hair was in an afro and his body was charred black, perfectly blending in with the surrounding darkness. "Father, are you undergoing the lightning tribulation?" Ning Tian asked softly. Was he trying to murder his father-in-law? This couldn't be, right? Damn you! Qin Luo scolded in annoyance. Spirit qi surged in his body, and he returned to his original appearance in a second. In these few hours, Ning Tian had a great time transcending the tribulation, and he also had a great time being struck by the lightning tribulation. However, Qin Luo and the Void Beast were miserable. "Stinky brat, you should be a one-star supreme ancient god now, right? Why is your lightning tribulation taking so long, seriously?" As Qin Luo spoke, he glared at him. "It's the 5 tribulations, which is also the 5 stars," Ning Tian said with an honest expression. Before Qin Luo could finish speaking, a question mark slowly appeared in his mind. Other cultivators would be cautious and hesitant. They would only dare to cross the ancient god Thunder tribulation when they were fully prepared. But this brat, in just a few short hours, he crossed 5 tribulations in one go? Brat, are you crazy? Are you not afraid of death? Qin Luo's heart was in turmoil. "I'm not afraid. It's not like I'm the one who's injured." "Aren't you the one who's injured?" Ning Tian said quietly from the side. Qin Luo, so angry, should he change his son-in-law? However, there is indeed a disadvantage to crossing the tribulation like this. At this moment, Ning Tian spoke again. "What is the disadvantage?" Qin Luo frowned. "That is, if I cross too many tribulations in one go, the heavenly Tao doesn't seem to allow me to cross the tribulation," Ning Tian said seriously. As he spoke, he even demonstrated wanting to cross the tribulation. Dark clouds flickered in the sky, but with the sound of thunder, they disappeared. Qin Luo was dumbfounded. Could this be? Even the heavenly Tao doesn't want you to cross the tribulation? What the f***ck? You've shocked Qin Luo. Reward: the wrath of the lightning tribulation. Because the host is too arrogant, the lightning tribulation has become angry. As a result, the lightning tribulation will be 10 times more powerful in the future. When the host is crossing the tribulation, the spirit energy within 10,000 meters will be reduced to increase the probability of the host being killed by the lightning tribulation. At this moment, in his mind, the system's voice sounded again. Hearing the system's words, Ning Tian slowly typed a question mark. "System, are you kidding me again? Did the system betray him? It couldn't wait for him to be killed by the lightning tribulation? System, a host, don't panic. There are still passive skills to be mentioned. You have to think carefully before you speak." Ning Tian's face was full of kindness. He touched his head. "If you don't tell me properly, I'll knock my head on the spot." Passive skill, insulator. The host is not fated with the lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation will not strike the host. The system's voice sounded again. Insulator? Ning Tian's eyes lit up. Wasn't that the same as when he was crossing the tribulation? The power of the lightning tribulation would be 10 times more powerful? Moreover, it would have the effect of weakening the spirit energy within 10,000 meters. That would be equivalent to increasing the lightning tribulation, but it wouldn't affect him. This was a perfect skill to deal with the enemy. Ha ha! Ning Tian couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Qin Luo with a face full of excitement. He didn't expect to receive such a good reward after shocking his father-in-law. "Brat, why are you looking at me like that?" Qin Luo looked vigilant. "Ha ha! It's nothing, Dad. Let me give you a kiss to express my fatherly love for you." Ning Tian laughed loudly. "What the f***ck? Qin Luo had long suspected that there was something wrong with this kid. Get lost. A scream was heard in the land of divine perdition. Of course. Ning Tian didn't really do anything. He just wanted to shock his father-in-law again and make him drop some good stuff. However, Qin Luo wasn't shocked at all. Instead, he looked as if he had guessed it. This made Ning Tian very confused. Was he such a person in his father-in-law's heart? All right, brat. The lightning tribulation is over. It's time to get lost, right? Qin Luo looked around angrily. Although the seal wasn't destroyed, the surroundings were a mess. Yes, I'm ready to leave. Ning Tian nodded slightly. He glanced at Qin Luo and said with a frown, "Aren't you leaving with me? This place isn't far from the Tianma cult. Wu Qing and your mother-in-law might be waiting for you." Although Ning Tian knew that as a guardian, he couldn't leave the seal at will, this place wasn't far from the Tianma cult. If Ling Du could leave the seal and go to the Ice God Palace, then Qin Luo should be able to do the same, right? No. I can't leave here. However, Qin Luo shook his head, and his expression gradually became serious. He looked at Ning Tian and said seriously, "Brat, every seal is different. You can't compare it to other seals. Otherwise, something big will happen. Do you understand?" "Every seal is different?" Ning Tian said in a low voice and then nodded seriously. "Okay, I understand. But since I've already returned to the 9 regions, I'll take a trip to the Firmament Territory." The Firmament Territory, the land of raging waves. That's a seal guarded by the ancient god Cloud Map. Are you sure you'll be fine going there alone? Qin Luo frowned worriedly when he heard Zhou Bao's words. Chapter 690. Creak. When Luo Wei's voice sounded from outside the door, the wooden door of the study creaked open. Luo Wei, dressed in a red dress, appeared in front of Ning Tian and the others. "What are you doing?" When Luo Wei walked into the study, she saw a handsome black-clothed young man holding her daughter and Yu Yao. The two women's clothes were disheveled. Luo Wei was no longer a little girl. She naturally understood what they were doing. When she came in, did she miss the timing? There was a moment of silence in the study. Swoosh. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao hurriedly broke free from Ning Tian's embrace. Their beautiful faces immediately flushed red. The three of them were in an extremely awkward position just now. Ning Tian was still holding the two women. They were not well behaved to begin with, so the two women's clothes were still a little messy. Cough, hello auntie. I am Ning Tian. After a moment of silence, Ning Tian coughed dryly. His old face was red, and he was a little flustered. After all, although Qin Luo was his father-in-law, but he had known him for a long time, and they were very close. Therefore, he did not feel nervous at all. But Luo Wei was different. That was the first time they had met, and this was the real meeting of the parents. Moreover, most importantly, the scene of the first meeting of the parents was actually in the study, when he was holding the other party's daughter and preparing to do something shameful. This was too awkward. A large-scale social death scene. Auntie? Luo Wei was stunned, and her beautiful face instantly turned cold. When this coldness appeared on her face, there was a shadow of Luo Wuqing. It's over. It's over. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian cried out. He had made his mother-in-law unhappy. It did not matter whether Qin Luo was happy or not, but this mother-in-law was not to be trifled with. You've already taken my daughter, and you're still calling me auntie? Hurry up and call me mom. However, when Ning Tian was sweating cold sweat, Luo Wei smiled and corrected Ning Tian. Mom. Ning Tian had been quick to react since he was young. When he heard Luo Wei's words, he immediately reacted and a smile appeared on his face. The way he addressed her was even more intimate than Luo Wuqing. Good boy. Luo Wei smiled gently and patted Ning Tian's shoulder earnestly. Little Ning, Mom will leave first. I won't disturb you anymore. Alright. Mom likes daughters a little, but boys are fine too. I'll leave this mission to you. After she finished speaking, she turned around and left. She even considerately helped the three of them close the door of the study. In the study, the three of them fell silent for a moment. Luo Wei's words were no longer a hint, but a blatant statement. The two women at the side blushed. They were already an old couple, but the two women were still so shy. Cough, honey, are all of our mothers so open-minded? Ning Tian coughed dryly. How would I know? Luo Wuqing blushed and rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. It was rare for the Empress to be so shy. Ha ha. Ning Tian couldn't help but want to laugh, so he laughed out loud. Qin Luo and Luo Wei were simply the best father-in-law and mother-in-law in Tianqian. Honey, little wife, I wonder if you've heard of this saying. Ning Tian looked at the two women. What saying? The two women frowned and had a bad feeling in their hearts. You're a good boy if you listen to your mother, Ning Tian said in all seriousness. The two women were speechless. Actually, I really don't want to cultivate, but, sigh, who asked me to be a good boy? Ning Tian sighed and pulled the two women into the void amidst their exclamations. Husband. Tianma cult. Boom. All of the heavenly demon cult disciples abruptly raised their heads to look, their eyes carrying a trace of doubt and nervousness. Could it be that someone from the deity domain had come again? But when everyone looked up, they saw a young man in black take a step out of the void and stretch in front of everyone. That familiar voice rang in everyone's ears. As expected, I still need to cultivate to be more in line with my identity as a decent person. It seems that I'll have to ask Zhu Yuanbua to get me 2 whips to eat. I'm a little weak. Cut it out. However, as soon as he said that, a cold female voice came from behind him. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao also took a step out of the void. Their auras fluctuated slightly and had obviously improved. But the two women rolled their eyes at Ning Tian's words. A little weak? If Ning Buxu was weak, could he still be called Ning Buxu? Ha! Ning Tian couldn't help but laugh. At this moment, feeling the countless gazes below him, he froze for a moment. Then, he lowered his head and saw many familiar faces, as well as some new ones. He couldn't help but smile. Everyone, long time no see. I'm back. Ancestral Master. Hearing those words, even though the Supreme Elder was already very old, he still could not help but feel his nose sting. Immediately, tears streamed down his face. If Ning Tian was by his side, she would probably throw herself into his arms and burst into tears. Zhu Yuanbua, Yu Qin, and the others watched with silly smiles on their faces. They heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. As long as the ancestral master was back, everything would be fine. At this moment, the countless disciples of the Tianma cult were looking at Ning Tian with fanatical eyes. The disciples who had joined the Tianma cult a long time ago looked at Ning Tian with tears in their eyes. Some of the new disciples looked at Ning Tian with eyes full of worship and excitement. Although their emotions were different, the only thing they knew was that their ancestral master of the Tianma cult had returned. The faith of the Tianma cult had returned. Sensing an enormous amount of faith energy. The heart of human is currently absorbing the faith energy. At this moment, the system's voice sounded in his mind. Specks of golden light that only Ning Tian could see appeared on their bodies. Then, the specks of golden light fell from their bodies and gathered toward Ning Tian. This was the faith they had for Ning Tian. The heart of human has absorbed the faith energy. The heart of human has been upgraded. When the system's voice faded away, Ning Tian stepped into the void and landed next to the crowd. I didn't expect that this old man would actually be able to see Ancestor once in my lifetime. The Supreme Elder looked at Ning Tian by the side and couldn't help but sigh heavily. Many people felt the same way when they heard those words. The ancestral master was the chosen one. His talent was something they would never be able to catch up to in their lifetime. As for them, they were only ordinary cultivators. If they were lucky, they would ascend to the realm of the gods. If they were unlucky, they would die of old age in the 9 regions. They originally thought that the ancestral master would be separated by life and death after ascending to the realm of the god. Never did they expect that they would be able to see the ancestral master again in the 9 regions. Chapter 691. Don't worry, you may be very ordinary, and your aptitudes may be mediocre, but, Ning Tian smiled as he looked at the crowd. He walked step by step toward the Tianma cult's main hall so that everyone in the Tianma cult could see him. At this moment, everyone's eyes fell on him. The 2 women stood silently beside him. Follow me, and you will no longer be ordinary. Because you are disciples of the Tianma cult. You are better than everyone else, and you will surpass everyone else. Because your ancestral master is me. I will change everything for you. Even if I fail countless times, there will be nothing to worry about as long as I am around. Ning Tian's voice fell. When he said those words, he suddenly froze. His body trembled and his mind went blank. It was as if countless words were echoing in his mind. I will change everything for you, even if it's countless times, countless times. Just now, what happened? The countless repeated voices only rang for a few seconds before stopping. It was like tinnitus, but Ning Tian's forehead was already dripping with cold sweat. Husband, what's wrong? At the side. The 2 women looked at him and couldn't help but frown. Their husband seemed to be abnormal for a moment just now. No, it's nothing. Ning Tian waved his hand. Although there was something abnormal, it was better not to worry the 2 women before they figured out the reason. At this moment, when Ning Tian's words fell, his voice spread throughout the Tianma cult. The whole Tianma cult suddenly became quiet. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then the luster in their eyes slowly lit up. Countless times in exchange for success. This was their ancestral master. We will wait, we will follow our ancestral master to death. Born by the Tianma cult, die by the Tianma cult. Countless Tianma cult disciples were excited. Their impassioned voices were endless. Very good. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly. He lifted his eyes and looked at the crowd with an indifferent expression. Everyone, please make your preparations. 1 month later, follow me to the divine region. The divine region is the place where you can truly ascend. The spiritual energy in the realm of the gods was denser than the spiritual energy in the 9 domains combined. Cultivating there would yield twice the results with half the effort, and the disciples of the Tianma cult would also be able to improve greatly. God, divine domain? Hearing those words, everyone was taken aback. Naturally, they had a great yearning for the divine domain. However, wasn't the divine domain only a demigod expert who had sensed the divine power qualified to enter? Divine power only gives you the right to pass through the veil of the heavenly Tao. As long as you pass through the veil of the heavenly Tao, even a mortal can stay in the divine realm. Do you really think that everyone in the divine realm is a god? Ning Tian's indifferent voice rang out. The curtain of the heavenly Tao, however, Ning Tian's words made everyone even more afraid. The heavenly Tao in their hearts, the heavenly Tao was a high and mighty existence. It was the ruler of the mysterious sky continent, a mysterious existence. They didn't even have the divine power, yet they wanted to pass through the veil of the heavenly Tao. Could it be that the heavenly Tao was just a decoration in front of their ancestral master? It's just the heavenly Tao. There's no need to be afraid. Ning Tian said faintly when she saw the frowns on everyone's faces. Everyone. Ancestral master, that's the heavenly Tao? At the side, Moon Spirit stole a few glances at Ning Tian. Her beautiful eyes revealed a trace of worry, and she couldn't help but say, Moon Emperor, you don't believe in others, but don't you believe in your ancestral master? Ning Tian chuckled at Moon Spirit. Hearing those words, Moon Spirit couldn't help but blush. She naturally knew why Ning Tian called her Moon Emperor. It was because the dream she had once said in front of him had finally come true. Ning Tian was sincerely congratulating her. Unfortunately, things were still the same, but people had changed. At the side, when everyone heard those words and saw Ning Tian's confident smile, they couldn't help but feel shocked. That's right, that was their ancestral master. The legendary ancestral master of the Tianma cult. The miracles that others had done might be the most ordinary thing in the case of their ancestral master. At this moment, everyone once again recalled a sentence that had been passed down in the Tianma cult. With the ancestral master, there was no surprise. You've shocked everyone in the Tianma cult. Event item obtained. Lock cylinder replacement technique. This item will automatically activate when faced with an event and display its function. Just as everyone in the Tianma cult revealed a trace of astonishment, the system's voice rang out in their minds. Lock cylinder replacement technique? Ning Tian frowned. A glint flashed in his eyes, as if he had thought of something. Could it be was it for that person? It seemed that he could only try it when he got there. After pondering for a moment, Ning Tian silently put away the event item. He once again looked at everyone in the Tianma cult. In short, everyone, just believe in me. 1 month from now, my Tianma cult will resound throughout the entire God's domain. Hearing this, the eyes of the Tianma cult disciples flashed with excitement. They were all young and hot-blooded. On the side, some of the elders of the Tianma cult, such as Zhu Yuanhua, chuckled. Although they weren't excited, they were looking forward to it. Finally, they could finally follow their ancestral master again. Our ancestral master will always be a god. Zhu Yuanhua laughed heartily. He rushed over with a horsewhip and almost stuffed it into Ning Tian's mouth. On the side, the Grand Elder also silently took out the Imperial Maiden portrait and walked over to Ning Tian. Ancestral Master, I have a newly listed Imperial. However, before he could finish speaking, he felt 2 ice-cold gazes land on his body. Immediately, the Grand Elder was so frightened that he almost dropped the Imperial Maiden portrait in his hand. Grand Elder, how could you give me this thing? Am I that kind of person? Ning Tian looked disappointed and couldn't help but sigh. But, I have a friend. Oh. This old man understands. The Grand Elder's eyes lit up. A friend? Little Ning, you have such a friend? At this moment, Ning Tian's mother-in-law's voice sounded behind him. No. How could there be such a person who has no friends? This kind of person is simply too shameless. Right, Grand Elder? Grand Elder. Ning Tian laughed. He scratched his head and looked at the Grand Elder with a sincere expression. Ancestral Master, didn't you say? The Grand Elder was dumbfounded and didn't react. However, before he could finish speaking, he turned into a meteor and floated into the distance. In the sky, there seemed to be another Grand Elder's voice. Grand Elder, goodbye, Ancestral Master. I'm going to sail away tonight. Mom, there's no such thing. The Grand Supreme Elder is a very bad old man. Don't believe him. Ning Tian coughed dryly with an honest expression. In front of his mother-in-law, he was still filled with the desire to live. Pfft! Seeing this scene, the 2 women couldn't help but laugh. Their teasing eyes fell on Ning Tian. It was as if they were saying, "Husband, you also have such a day." Chapter 692. Ahem, Ning Tian could not help but cough dryly when he felt the teasing gazes of the 2 women. However, before he could say anything, he saw Luo Wei walking towards the 2 women and reaching out to touch their soft bellies. Mom, what are you doing? Seeing this scene, Luo Wuqing could not help but be stunned. I'm checking whether it's a boy or a girl, Luo Wei said in all seriousness. Hearing this, Luo Wuqing's pretty face immediately turned red. It was rare for the originally cold Empress to be so shy. There was a different kind of cuteness in contrast. Then, she hurriedly pushed Luo Wei away and said angrily, "How can it be so fast? Mom, you're thinking too much." "You're not?" Luo Wei looked disappointed. Then, she patted Ning Tian's shoulder and said earnestly, "Xiao Ning, you can't do this. While you're still young, give birth to a few more for us to play with, take care of. After all, it's very boring in the sealed land. Xiao Ning, if you don't succeed this time, just try a few more times. There will definitely be a chance." Hearing this, Ning Tian and the other two fell silent. Damn. This mother-in-law was so open-minded that it was a little shocking. Okay, Mom, don't worry. Leave this mission to me. Ning Tian came back to his senses and smiled proudly at the two women. Luo Wuqing was stunned. The Empress was speechless. Now, she was already doubting whether she was still Luo Wei's biological daughter. How could she let others bully her daughter? Oh right. At this moment, Luo Wei seemed to have thought of something and looked at Ning Tian. "Xiao Ning, if the plan to unify the 9 regions is to be handed over to Wuqing, then do it as soon as possible." Why? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. "Because I want to bring them to cultivate and help them break through to the ancient god realm," Luo Wei said slowly. "I see." Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed and then he nodded slightly. "Then there's no time to lose. Let's unify the 9 regions from today onwards. Although the Tianma cult will go to the divine realm, we can leave behind the seeds of the Tianma cult in the 9 regions. This may become the roots of the Tianma cult? Okay." Hearing this, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao nodded. "Do you need me to go with you?" Ning Tian looked at Luo Wuqing. "No. Let the Empress of the Empress of the Tianma cult." Luo Wuqing's lips curled into a confident smile. His beautiful face turned cold once again, cold and emotionless. His beautiful eyes looked at the heavenly demon cult members. "Everyone, follow me to unify the 9 zones." "Empress." The Tianma cult members nodded heavily. Currently, the experts of the 7 regions were all imprisoned in the heavenly demon cult's cages. As for how they would be dealt with, Ning Tian did not care. In any case, these so-called experts of the 7 regions were merely ants to him. It was better to leave this matter to the Grand Elder and the others. While Luo Wuqing was unifying the 9 regions, Ning Tian had his own plans. After catching up with some old friends, he planned to go to the Firmament territory. "Sect Master and I, long time no see." Ning Tian looked at Anai Hongi. He had learned the misty energy from the Misty Sect. "Ancestral Master, long time no see." Anai Hongi was stunned for a moment, then she smiled at Ning Tian. The Ancestral Master was the same as before. Apart from becoming stronger, nothing had changed. Although she seemed the same, the difference was like heaven and earth. Yes, Ning Tian let out a long sigh. Being apart for a few years was like being apart for 1,000,000 years. Although it was only a few years, to him, a lot had happened. He asked again, "That girl Yuqin, she isn't stealing anymore, right? Yuqin? She can steal horses from all over the 9 regions." And Ai Hongi smiled bitterly. "I'm not stealing. I'm just a horse lover." Yuqin raised her small hand in protest. "Horse, thank you so much. Then, how about the Misty Sect? Is it doing well?" Ning Tian asked. "Thanks to the Ancestral Master, the Misty Sect is now one of the top forces in the Firmament territory. But Elder Hailu has passed away," and Ai Hongi said slowly, shaking her head. "Elder Hailu." Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned slightly. He felt sorry for the death of an old friend. Elder Hailu was the other great emperor of the Misty Sect. He didn't expect him to pass away. "How about, you join the Tianma cult and form the Misty Sect? What do you think? The heavenly demon will protect you." And Ai Hongi was stunned for a moment. After a long moment of silence, she looked at Ning Tian with her beautiful eyes and nodded. "Okay." After bidding farewell to Anai Hongi, Ning Tian went to look for the 2 sisters, Tian Xiang and Tian Mei, and directly expressed his intentions. "The Demon God Realm, Ancestral Master, you mean we can join the Fox God Valley in the Demon God Realm?" Tian Mei frowned slightly and looked at Ning Tian. Yes, the nine-tailed fox is also in the demon god realm. It should be the faith of the demon race. Joining the demon god realm will be good for you. The nine-tailed fox will protect you. Ning Tian smiled and nodded. Faith protect? Tian Mei was stunned. Ancestral Master, won't you protect us? Tian Xiang raised her eyes and asked. Me? Of course I will protect you. Ning Tian said without hesitation. He would treat his old friends well. Ancestral Master, the faith of the Fox clan is no longer the nine-tailed fox, but you. Instead of joining the demon god realm, I think the people of the Sky Fox Valley would prefer to follow you. Tian Mei looked at Ning Tian seriously. Besides, Miss Su's bloodline should be the same as the Sky Fox's. Following the Ancestral Master is the same as following Miss Su. It's the same. Ning Tian was stunned. Then he looked at the two sisters with a smile and nodded. Okay, I understand. Then, the Sky Fox Valley will reappear in the Sky Demon realm. Hee, thank you very much, Ancestral Master. Tian Mei and Tian Xiang thanked him. After chatting with all his old friends for a long time, Ning Tian looked at the two women and said, Honey, I'll go to the Firmament Territory first and wait for your good news. Okay. Be careful, husband. Luo Wuqing nodded and said softly. Now that everything was done, Ning Tian did not hesitate. He stepped into the void and headed for the Firmament Territory. He had passed 5 Supreme Ancient God Thunder Tribulations and his strength had reached the level of a 5-star Supreme Ancient God. Coupled with his mastery of the space law, his speed was amazing. 10 minutes later, in the Firmament Territory, Ning Tian took a step out of the void and could not help but sigh. When he had set off from the Celestial Spirit Territory, even with the help of the Void Ship and the Space Transmission Pillar, it had taken him several weeks. Now, he had arrived in the Firmament Territory in 10 minutes. However, now that I'm in the Firmament Territory, I can't help but think of an old friend, Ning Tian murmured and looked in a direction. That was in the direction of the Heaven Secret Pavilion. Chapter 693. It's been so many years. I wonder how that damn fortune-teller is doing now. Ning Tian looked in the direction of the Divine Secret Pavilion and murmured. That day, before the ancient road to godhood opened, Chen Gejiang came to teach him the Divine Secret Technique at the Galerain House. It was also at that time that he knew he was a person without destiny. But now several years had passed. Forget it. Let's go and take a look. If this guy is punished by heaven, maybe I can burn some incense for him. Ning Tian muttered to himself and then took a step forward. In an instant, the spiritual energy around him surged. He was full of ancient god aura. With one step, he disappeared from the sky and headed in the direction of the Divine Secret Pavilion. Firmament Territory, Divine Secret Pavilion. Now, the pavilion was lonely. There was only an old tree and a white-haired old man holding a broom. He was stooped and leisurely sweeping the yellow leaves in the courtyard. At this moment, the void rippled slightly and a figure stepped out. Old man, how did the Divine Secret Pavilion become like this? Looking at the lonely pavilion, Ning Tian could not help but frown. A trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. The Divine Secret Pavilion was the top force of the human clan in the Firmament Territory a few years ago. How did it become so lonely in just a few years? Young friend, are you also here to divine the Divine Secret? I'm sorry, the Divine Secret Pavilion has been disbanded and will not divine the Divine Secret for others for the time being. If you insist, I can only persuade you. When the stooped old man heard Ning Tian's voice, he could not help but stop sweeping the leaves. He slowly turned around and squinted at Ning Tian with a wrinkled face. What is it? Ning Tian also looked at him. The Divine Secret is not to be revealed. The old man gently spat out a few words. They seemed to contain endless mystery. Hearing these words, Ning Tian could not help but be stunned. Then, a wry smile appeared on his face. A trace of reminiscence flashed in his eyes. What a familiar phrase! He just did not expect that such a huge divine secret pavilion would be disbanded. Could it be when Chen Gejiang learned of the heavenly wrath, he dissolved the entire heavenly secrets pavilion? Old man, you've misunderstood. I'm not here to divine the secrets of the heavens. I'm only here to look for someone. The expression in Ning Tian's eyes slowly returned to normal. He shook his head and looked at the old man who was sweeping the floor seriously. Looking for someone? The old man frowned. Even though the pavilion of heavenly mysteries had been disbanded, there were still many cultivators who came here in the past few years. Their purpose was to divine the heavenly mysteries. However, how could the heavenly mysteries be divined in such a manner? I'm looking for your heavenly secrets pavilion's former pavilion master, Chen Gejiang, Ning Tian said slowly. Chen Gejiang? The old man was stunned for a moment. After a long silence he sighed, I'm afraid this little friend has come in vain. Pavilion Master Chen disappeared many years ago. It was because of his disappearance and the death of Wang Tian ancestor that the Pavilion of Divination collapsed and disbanded. Gone? That damn fortune-teller. Disappeared? Ning Tian frowned, but he quickly reacted. Wait, Wang Tian ancestor is also dead? His expression was somewhat complicated. The Wang Tian ancestor could be considered half an acquaintance, but he didn't expect that the last time he saw him would be a farewell? Yes, the old man's expression was desolate as he sighed. The Wang Tian ancestor divined a person who couldn't be divined. Damn it, he was already destined to die. It's only a matter of time. Hearing this, Ning Tian fell silent. I'm afraid the reason why the Wang Tian ancestor died should be because he divined for him. Even Chen Gejiang didn't dare to divine too many heavenly mysteries for himself, let alone the Wang Tian ancestor. Wang Tian ancestor, where is he buried? After a long silence, Ning Tian asked. Heavenly Secret Mountain, Wang Tian Tomb. The old man pointed to a place. Ning Tian looked over and nodded slightly. Thank you. After he finished speaking, he disappeared on the spot in a flash. As for the old man, he did not mind. He merely continued to sweep the area. He had been sweeping the area like this for several years. The moment the withered old tree collapsed would be the moment his life ended. He was another great emperor of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Heavenly Secret Pavilion, Wang Tian Tomb. Ning Tian looked at the incense in his hand. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but raise into a bitter smile. He originally planned to burn incense for Chen Gejiang, but he didn't expect that in the end, he would burn one for the Wang Tian ancestor. Things remain the same, but people have changed. Wang Tian, rest in peace. Ning Tian sighed, then inserted the burning incense in his hand into the tomb door. Boom. However, when the incense was inserted, there was a loud explosion. The tomb exploded? Or did the Wang Tian ancestor's corpse come to life? Ning Tian frowned and murmured. But it was obvious that both of his guesses were wrong. On the tomb door, a rich spiritual energy appeared, and lines of words appeared in the spiritual energy, also appearing in front of Ning Tian. Spiritual energy turned into words, a small mechanism technique. Ning Tian saw through this small mechanism at a glance. He looked at the spirit word and frowned. This is, left by the fortune-teller? On the spirit word was written, Fellow Taoist Ning, my mission has been completed, and I will eventually disappear from this 9 regions. The story of the 9 regions will finally be completed. Ning Tian spent a few minutes reading this large paragraph of spirit words. After reading, he couldn't help but frown. Mission completed? Ning Tian caught the key point. He vaguely remembered that the fortune-teller once said that he was the guide of the heavenly god physique, and that it was his mission to guide the heavenly god physique. And he was the 10th heavenly god physique. So the fortune-teller's mission was completed. I see, seems like this fortune-teller might have some relationship with the heavenly palace, or even, reading up to here, Ning Tian had more or less figured out what was going on. Previously, he had some doubts. That fortune-teller was at most a great emperor expert. How could he have lived for millions of years? And why would the Death Lord know a mere great emperor? But if the fortune-teller was just an incarnation of a great emperor from the god domain, then everything would make sense. An incarnation from the god domain was very common among the experts from the god domain. It could be seen from the white-haired sword saint's incarnation of the myriad sword god. This guy. I hope that when I see his real body again, I can still slap his face, Ning Tian murmured with a smile on his face. He then shook his head helplessly. Let's go to the Black Earth Death Mountain again to prepare for the Earth Spirit World. After leaving the 9 regions this time, the next time he came back, he would definitely go to the Black Earth Death Mountain and enter the Earth Spirit World from there. In order to prevent the Death Lord from causing trouble, it was better to make preparations first. Ning Tian made up his mind and stepped into the void, disappearing. Chapter 694. Black Earth Death Mountain. The black aura was flowing all around. The death aura was constantly condensing and shrouding. The entire Black Earth Death Mountain was covered in darkness. Many death generals who were controlled by the death aura were strolling around the mountain with numb expressions. The current death chi is unable to harm me in the slightest. Ning Tian stepped out from the void and looked at the surrounding scene. He then raised his eyes to look at the death palace hidden in the mountain and couldn't help but sigh. Things are still the same, but people have changed. In the past, it was difficult to advance even an inch. Now, it was very easy to stroll around. And it was also in this Black Earth Death Mountain that he met the white-clothed, flat-chested girl for the first time. She liked to hug the death bell, and also liked to draw circles and curse himself. Phew! Ning Tian let out a long sigh of relief. Then, he shook his head and took a step forward, heading towards the Death Palace. The death generals guarding the Death Palace were completely unaware that someone had bypassed their guards and headed towards the Death Palace. In the Death Palace, Ning Tian appeared here. The surrounding was as quiet as death. It was filled with a very dense death aura. Ning Tian's appearance did not break the order of this place. He cultivated the law of death. In front of the death aura, Ning Tian was the same kind. Who would have thought that the Death Overlord would actually be able to repair this great hall? Who would have thought that that woman would have such capabilities? Looking at the intact palace, Ning Tian couldn't help but stroke his chin and ridicule. Back then, this palace was destroyed very miserably. Don't ask him how he got rid of it. After all, he was the one who did it. Thousands of lightning tribulation gathered here and destroyed the palace. But, when he came here again, it was actually repaired. This made Ning Tian, who didn't have the previous battle record, feel very regretful. Death Lord, an old friend is here. Don't you want to come out and meet her? Ning Tian didn't hold back. He sat on the high seat of the Death Palace and shouted at the air beside him. His voice echoed in the palace, but there was no response. This woman is really cold. Ning Tian pursed his lips and decided to change his words. Lord of Death, if you don't come out, I'm going to use the demolition spell on your Death Palace. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding aura of death seemed to have become denser, but other than that, there was no other reaction. This troublesome woman, you forced me to do this. Ning Tian shook his head helplessly. Why didn't he come out? Why did he have to use his ultimate move? Sigh. Ning Tian sighed, then took a deep breath and raised his voice to the maximum. Death Lord, your breastplate is really good. I can see that you are very broad-minded. Before he could finish his words, Ning Tian sensed the aura of death gathering behind him. Next, a hand covered his mouth. You bastard! I'm going to kill you. The angry voice of the Death Lord was heard. She appeared beside Ning Tian out of thin air and covered his mouth. The aura of death condensed into a blade in her hand and stabbed toward Ning Tian. However, with a flash, Ning Tian's figure disappeared from where she stood, dodging the simple stab. Ha! Death, you don't have to be in such a hurry to meet an old friend, right? Ning Tian flashed and appeared not far from the Death Lord. He looked at her. I didn't expect you to be so pretty. This was the first time the Death Lord appeared in front of Ning Tian with her real body. After all, when they were at the Black Death Mountain, the Death Lord was just a voice. In front of him, the Death Lord was wearing a tight black leather jacket. Her black hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Her figure was proud and full. She gritted her silver teeth and glared at him angrily. Lecher. Feeling Ning Tian's gaze, the Death Lord couldn't help but snort. Ning Tian slowly typed a question mark. Didn't I just take a look at you? But, I want to ask, when you're wearing this leather jacket, won't your fart bulge? Ning Tian looked at the Death Overlord with a serious expression as she asked. The Death Lord was stunned for a moment. Then, she became even angrier. Is this something a human would say? Humph. You are indeed the most shameless sky god body. I haven't seen you for a few years, and you haven't changed at all. The Death Lord snorted. The blade in her hand slowly dissipated. From the looks of it, she didn't intend to continue attacking Ning Tian. Ha! Ning Tian chuckled and looked at the Death Lord. I didn't expect you to be so strong. You actually have the strength of an ancient god sovereign, You can tell? No. You are already an ancient god? The Death Lord was stunned. Then, her beautiful eyes flashed with astonishment. If Ning Tian could tell her strength, then Ning Tian's strength must be at the ancient god realm. How many years has it been? The Death Lord couldn't help but reveal a strange expression on her face. A few years ago, although Ning Tian had the sky god body, he wasn't even a great emperor back then. He even needed to use his wife's connections to escape from her. But how many years had it been? Ning Tian was already at the ancient god realm? Although she didn't know what kind of ancient god he was, this speed was already shocking. Even if he had the sky god body, it was impossible to be so fast. You have shocked the Death Lord. Reward. Death Lord level comprehension of the law of death. In his mind, the system's voice sounded. In an instant, the black aura around Ning Tian surged and quickly disappeared into his body. This reward is worth 100 million points. Feeling the aura of death flowing in his body, Ning Tian smiled slightly. His law of death was only slightly behind the Death Lord. Now, the system's shocking reward made up for the gap. Death, I asked you to come here mainly because I want to go to the Earth Spirit World in the future. I know that you can enter the Earth Spirit World from here. Ning Tian looked at the Death Lord and said in a deep voice. You are going to save Bai Lu, right? Hearing Ning Tian's words, the Death Lord's face darkened and her voice became colder. She looked at Ning Tian indifferently. There was no trace of life in her eyes. How did you know? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. You don't need to know how I know. But I don't understand. Why do you want her to die? She is infinitely close to death. Clearly, as long as you bring her to me, I can save her. The Death Lord's face was very ugly. Her beautiful eyes were very cold. Obviously, she couldn't accept Bai Lu's death. Although she knew that the girl was living well in the Earth Spirit World, she was still dead. Chapter 695. Hearing the Death Lord's words and seeing her like this, Ning Tian sighed. This damned woman must be really angry. Even if she were to tell her that White Willow had sacrificed himself, she probably wouldn't believe it. Moreover, he blamed himself for Bai Lu's death. If he was a little stronger, Bai Lu would not have to sacrifice herself. One soul fell and 10,000 souls were born. What a headache! I'm not here today to make you angry. Ning Tian looked at the ugly expression on the Death Overlord's face and couldn't help but frown. He had to think of a way to make the Death Overlord forgive him. Only then would it be easier for him to enter the Earth Spirit World from the Black Death Mountain. But how could he make the Death Lord forgive him? Could it be that he had to make a new breastplate for her? But he would be treated as a lecher, right? Got it. At this moment, Ning Tian's eyes lit up. He thought of an item that he had not used before. It would work wonders if he could put it here. Then, with a flip of his hand, an item that was lying quietly in his storage ring suddenly appeared on his hand. It was the transparent primordial hat that he had obtained earlier. The effect of this item was simple and clear. It was to put on the hat and forgive himself. Ning Tian, I'm telling you. Bai Lu doesn't need you to save her. I'll do it myself. The Death Lord gritted her teeth and looked at Ning Tian angrily. However, before she could finish her sentence, she saw Ning Tian's hand moved slightly and a transparent hat fell on her head. However, the strange thing was that the anger in his heart had suddenly vanished into thin air. Forget it. Looking at Ning Tian again, the Death Lord suddenly lost her temper. She frowned and could only sigh helplessly. When I come again next time, can you help me open the entrance to the Earth Spirit World? Seeing that the transparent primordial hat worked, Ning Tian heaved a sigh of relief and then looked at the Death Lord and asked, But when will it be? The Death Lord nodded slightly and asked. Soon. Ning Tian murmured, perhaps in less than a year or even sooner. I got it. However, Ning Tian, I have to remind you of something. The Earth Spirit World today is not the same as before. The Death King frowned slightly as he looked at Ning Tian. What do you mean? Ning Tian's eyes glinted. According to my master, an uninvited guest has arrived in the Earth Spirit World. Perhaps the entire Earth Spirit World will undergo an earth-shaking change because of her arrival. However, this is only a possibility. Anyway, when you go, you must be careful. The Death Overlord reminded. Your master? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. He is the master of the Earth Spirit World. I didn't expect your master to be such an existence. However, who is this so-called uninvited guest? Even the master of the Earth Soul World is unable to drive it out. The Death Overlord's voice faltered. She shook her head and said, My master is extremely afraid of her. If he really wants to fight, he will not be a match for her. According to my master, she is very strong. Moreover, the aura on her body is something he has never seen before. Hearing the Death Overlord's words, Ning Tian fell into silence. What kind of uninvited guest would have such an ability? Forget it. When I go to the Earth Spirit World, I will know. Anyway, I will be careful. Ning Tian nodded slightly. He was now somewhat curious about the uninvited guest. The Death Overlord's strength was already at the ancient god sovereign level. Then, the master of the Earth Spirit World must also be at the same level. However, if even such an existence did not dare to attack the uninvited guest, then who was she? It seemed that these doubts could only be answered when he went to the Earth Spirit World. When you go to the Earth Spirit World, just come to the Black Earth Death Mountain to find me. The Death Overlord said to Ning Tian. As soon as she finished speaking, she thought of something. She gritted her teeth and stared at Ning Tian. However, if you dare to say something about my heart in the Black Earth Death Mountain again, I will never open the door for you. Obviously, although she was forgiven by the forgiveness hat, the Death Overlord was still brooding over this matter. Ha! Hearing this, Ning Tian laughed and said, Don't worry. It's just a pity. What's a pity? The Death Overlord frowned. It's a pity that you have to guard the entrance of the Earth Spirit World. Otherwise, I would have tricked you into the Tianma cult. Ning Tian rubbed his chin and said with a look of pity. The Death Overlord was an ancient god sovereign. She must be very strong to be used as a tool. Screw you. In your dreams. The Death Overlord rolled her eyes at him. Ha. The two of them talked about old times again. All right. It's almost time to go. Death Overlord. I'll see you later. Ning Tian smiled at the Death Overlord. Without hesitation, he stepped into the void and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Only the Death Overlord was left in the main hall of the Death Palace. She sighed. Ning Tian, you must bring Bai Lu back from the Earth Soul world. Although the Death Overlord knew that her master wanted to cultivate Bai Lu to be the next master of Earth Spirit, from a selfish point of view, she did not want Bai Lu to become the next master of Earth Spirit. Because, once Bai Lu became the master of Earth Spirit, although he would have great power, he would lose his freedom and laughter. He would become an emotionless puppet. In this case, she would rather Bai Lu get rid of the Earth Spirit world. Therefore, she could only pin all her hopes on Ning Tian. Sigh, a faint sigh dissipated in the darkness. After Ning Tian came out of the Black Soil Death Mountain, he exerted all his strength and headed toward the endless sea area of the Firmament Territory. This was his last journey in the Firmament Territory. He had already come up with a crazy idea. Before, he had become half the master of the Nether Black Tortoise. The Nether Black Tortoise was a lock placed in the Raging Sea area by the ancient god Yun Tuesday. As half the master of the Nether Black Tortoise, he now had the skill of changing the lock core. Could he change the lock core of the Nether Black Tortoise? If the people of the ancient god Yun Tu wanted to enter the place where the raging sea raging waves was sealed, they had to have the key in their hands to open the lock of the Nether Black Tortoise. If he changed the core of the lock, would the people of the ancient god Yun Tu not be able to enter the place where the raging sea raging waves was sealed? By then, he would be the only one who could enter the raging sea area. He could also slowly remove the ancient god Yun Tu's right to control the raging sea area. By then, the 4 raging sea area would be under his control. A few minutes later, a figure slowly appeared in the sky above the endless sea area. This is... When Ning Tian appeared here and looked at the giant in front of him, he suddenly frowned. The Nether Black Tortoise's giant body had already appeared above the endless sea area. Raging waves and strong winds were blowing around it. Could it be the people of the ancient god Yun Tu had come? Chapter 696. In the endless sea, the huge shadow appeared on the surface of the sea. Because of its appearance, the entire endless sea's sea level rose by an unknown number of meters. The surrounding coast was washed away. Countless houses were washed away by the sea water, and countless cultivators were swept under the sea water. I didn't expect this old tortoise to be so big. Ning Tian frowned slightly, then glanced at a place. With a wave of his hand, the power of space instantly moved all the people in that place to a place where the waves could not reach. And these people were the people of the everlasting God dynasty. Seeing that the old emperor was on good terms with him, at least he could not watch as his people were swept away by the waves. All right, time to go and see what's going on. Ning Tian stretched his back, then took a step forward. Not far away, all the people of the everlasting God dynasty who were saved were stunned. Looking at the slowly disappearing figure in the sky, they revealed a look of respect. Endless sea domain, quiet ocean abyss. The so-called silence was long gone. The surrounding waves were crashing, and there were ear-piercing sounds of chains being dragged. At this moment, the Netherworld Black Tortoise had already reached its maximum size. Although its size was not as large as the Sealing Flame Lion King, it could still easily cover half of the endless sea domain. One could see. Its pitch-black turtle shell was like a gigantic moving island. A pitch-black beam of light soared into the sky, connecting the turtle shell island and the sky. In the sky, dark clouds were moving, and gusts of cold wind were blowing. And vaguely, under the black light, a few figures could be seen. It's indeed the people of the ancient god cloud map. Somewhere in the sky, Ning Tian used the law of space to stay in the void, and used his divine thought to sense the outside world. And with the help of the chaotic aura, he hid his aura completely, not letting the people of the ancient god cloud map discover him. It seems, they should be trying to take out the chaotic aura, Ning Tian murmured. He discovered something. When the unknown tree absorbed enough chaotic aura, it could also see if someone had this kind of energy, no matter how well it was hidden. Under the dark light beam, the ancient gods of ancient god Yun-Tu all possessed the power of chaos. 2 supreme ancient gods and 1 primal chaos ancient god. The ancient god Yun-Tu only sent these 3 people? Ning Tian frowned slightly and a glint flashed across his eyes. If there were only 3 of them, he might be able to put up a fight. After all, even a chaotic ancient god was only a first calamity. That's not right. There's also an enormous aura within this dark beam of light, which means that it's within the sealed land of the raging sea. This aura is at least that of a 1-star sovereign ancient god. Ning Tian's eyes fell on it, and thoughts began to appear in his mind. If he wanted to get rid of these people, now was the best time to do it. As long as he used the lock core replacement technique to lock the ancient god sovereign in before he came out of the seal, the 3 people in front of him wouldn't be his match. As for the ancient god sovereign imprisoned within the sealed region, he had a way to deal with him as well. After all, in the sealed land, there was the existence of the aura of chaos. The aura of chaos could strengthen the ancient god of ancient god Yun-Tu, and it could also strengthen him. Then, I'll destroy them one by one, Ning Tian muttered in the void. His figure slowly faded into the void and disappeared. At this moment, the 3 ancient gods didn't seem to sense the danger at all. Their eyes fell on the dark beam of light, and their expressions were grave. Why hasn't old ancestor Ming come out yet? It's already been 2 hours. One of the supreme ancient gods frowned. Let's wait a little longer. Old ancestor Ming has been here many times and has experience. He should be fine. The primal chaos ancient god was very calm. He shook his head and spoke to the other 2 in a deep voice. Of course I believe in old ancestor Ming. The main thing is, my right eye has been twitching recently, and I'm worried. Moreover, the patriarch of the heavenly palace is still in the 9 regions. I don't want to encounter an ancient god assassin. The supreme ancient god touched his twitching right eye and couldn't help but say, Patriarch of the heavenly palace. Hearing this, the other 2 ancient gods frowned, and a grave look flashed in their eyes. Oh, are you calling me? At this moment, a figure quietly appeared behind the 3 of them, and a voice with a hint of laughter rang out. Hearing this voice, the 3 of them were stunned for a moment. Ancient god aura instantly erupted from their bodies. After turning around, they saw a young man in black looking at them with a smile. Patriarch of the heavenly palace, why are you here? The supreme ancient god with twitching right eye couldn't help but exclaim. Why am I here? Ning Tian chuckled and looked at them with a smile. I heard your calls, so I came. The 3 ancient gods. Come my ass. You came when I asked you to, you damn it. They were somewhat fearful and cursed in their hearts. Although they didn't know the exact strength of the patriarch of the heavenly palace, seeing that he could join forces with the curse god to kill 2 ancient gods, Ning Tian's strength was definitely not low. No wonder my right eye twitched. I had a bad premonition. The supreme ancient god muttered. Oh, your right eye twitched? I have a way to stop him from twitching. Ning Tian smiled and raised his hand. A wisp of black gas appeared in his hand, and he gently pointed it at the supreme ancient god. Ah! A scream rang out, and blood flowed out continuously. What? The expressions of the other 2 changed. They saw that the right eye of the supreme ancient god, which had been twitching wildly, had been corroded by a ball of black gas. Blood flowed out of the eye. Even though he had prepared all his defenses when the black gas appeared, he still could not withstand it. Look, with this you won't twitch, right? Ning Tian looked at him with a smile. Although he was smiling, there was a hint of coldness in his voice. I heard that your right eye twitched? Now that you don't have your right eye, does that mean it won't twitch? You. I want you dead. The expression of the supreme ancient god, who had lost his right eye, changed drastically. The one-star supreme ancient god's aura surged violently, and the supreme ancient god and chaos ancient god beside him also surged their auras and rushed toward Ning Tian. Sigh. I helped you out of kindness, but you didn't appreciate it. It seems I can only kill you. Ning Tian shook his head slightly. A wisp of death aura appeared in his hand and swept toward the three. Supreme ancient gods were indeed very strong, but unfortunately, in Ning Tian's eyes, how could people who were lower than him dare to attack him? Die. A mere one-star supreme ancient god doesn't even have the right to look me in the eye. I'll publish one chapter first. I still have 2,500 words to write the third chapter, but my classmate called me to eat. I'll come back and publish the second chapter after eating. Chapter 697. Ning Tian's voice was indifferent. As soon as he finished speaking, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Death aura instantly erupted as his pitch-black eyes fell on the three of them. Death's eye. My life? They saw the two one-star supreme ancient gods froze on the spot. Their faces froze in an instant. Their skin, which was originally red, slowly turned black. Then, or when a gust of wind blew out, his body actually turned into black fragments. What? Wah! This scene had truly shocked that chaos ancient god. His pupils constricted while a mouthful of pitch-black blood suddenly sprayed from his mouth. Are you trying to cheat me? Seeing this, Ning Tian frowned slightly. Logically speaking, the chaos ancient god was more powerful than him and should not be affected by the death's eye. Why did he spit out blood? No, at this moment, Ning Tian narrowed his eyes as he thought of something important. When he shocked the Death Master at the Black Death Mountain, his comprehension of the law of death was already at the same level as the Death Master. Although he was not as powerful as the Death Master and could not unleash the full power of the law of death, there was still some improvement. That was why he killed two one-star supreme ancient gods with one glance and injured a one-star chaos ancient god with one glance. He actually killed two supreme ancient gods in an instant. This kind of person is too scary. Even old ancestor Ming may not be his match. At that moment, the primal chaos primordial god retreated step by step. His gaze towards Ning Tian was filled with deep fear. His heart churned. The patriarch of the heavenly palace was too scary. Although the chaos ancient god consciously kept a distance from Ning Tian, he did not know that his shock would also increase Ning Tian's strength. You have shocked a nameless chaos ancient god. Reward: Array Dao entry level. Reward: Thunder formation of myriad calamity. Can be used in conjunction with thunder calamity. In Feng Qiu's mind, the system's voice rang out. Upon hearing the system's words, Ning Tian raised his brows slightly and walked toward the primal chaos ancient god. He didn't know when the patriarch of the underworld that they mentioned would come out of the seal, so it was better to end the battle quickly. When Ning Tian took another step forward, he vanished a moment later. He appeared behind the primal chaos ancient god without any warning, and a gust of wind from his fist whistled out. Boom! As the primal chaos ancient god was afraid of death, he did not dare to take the initiative to attack. All his moves were reserved for defense. Death. Time. Ning Tian did not have time to waste on a small one-star chaotic ancient god. He immediately activated the two great laws of heaven and earth. Golden light and black light flashed at the same time. At that moment, his power of time law was enough to freeze the one-star chaotic ancient god for a second. But in a fight between the strong, A single second could determine life and death. Death erosion. When the dripping sound rang out, a golden light flashed across the primal chaos ancient god's body. His expression began to freeze, and his body became still for a second. Ning Tian took advantage of this time. The death aura flowed in his palm, and he ruthlessly slapped the primal chaos ancient god's chest. Drip. Everything happened within a second. Puff. After a second, the primal chaos ancient god spat out a mouthful of blood. This is the law of death? He sucked in a breath of cold air. When he lowered his head to look, his chest had already turned pitch black. Wisps of terrifying and strange death aura covered his chest and continued to corrode his body. The law of death was eroding his heart. He would definitely die. After this slap, Ning Tian did not look at him anymore. He turned around and walked toward the nether black tortoise's head. My life is over. The primal chaos ancient god sighed. Then, he lifted his eyes, and a strong killing intent flashed in his eyes. As his aura surged, blood kept spurting out of his mouth. As he spurted out blood, he attacked Ning Tian. Even if I die, this god will also heavily injure you. A hysterical shout rang out from behind. However, Ning Tian's expression was calm. He walked forward step by step, as if he did not hear the primal chaos ancient god behind him. He counted down in his heart, and then he uttered a word. Die. Puff. As soon as Ning Tian finished speaking, the ancient god didn't even have time to reveal a look of disbelief before his body exploded. Boom. Boom. Blood splattered everywhere. The aura still lingered in the air. Ning Tian tilted his head and looked at the drop of blood on his shoulder. He frowned and could not help but sigh. As expected of a primal chaos ancient god, he actually dirted my clothes before dying. How powerful! As he spoke, he used the law of heavenly fire to burn the blood on his shoulder. On the ground, the corpse of the primal chaos ancient god had already exploded. A broken palm fell on the ground and made a friendly gesture at Ning Tian's back. You were shocked. However, you did not completely shock an unnamed primal chaos ancient god. Therefore, there is no reward. In front of him, the system's voice rang out in Ning Tian's mind. Ning Tian. System, what do you mean? Ning Tian slowly typed out a question. The system was not giving out the reward because it wanted to play. Host, the primal chaos ancient god was about to complete its shock when you killed him. Therefore, the shock was not completely completed. Therefore, the reward did not take effect. The system explained unhurriedly. Ning Tian was speechless. Phew, first I need to change the core of the lock. Only then can I suppress the nether old ancestor within the seal. Ning Tian murmured. Then, he took a step forward and stepped into the void. A few minutes later, a black-clothed young man slowly appeared in front of the huge, nether-black tortoise's head. This fellow, is he unconscious? Or has he fallen into a deep sleep? Looking at the nether-black tortoise whose eyes were tightly shut, Ning Tian frowned slightly. Old tortoise? Ning Tian tried to call out. Roar! Who the F***ck dares to call your master black tortoise an old tortoise? However, as soon as Ning Tian's words fell, the nether black tortoise that originally had its eyes tightly shut instantly woke up. Its aura shook violently and those huge eyes opened. A glaring red light flashed across its eyes. It seemed that this fellow had a deep obsession with the words old tortoise. Even I can't call you that. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly. A pair of teasing eyes fell on the nether black tortoise's body. He just looked at it quietly. You? Your master black tortoise wants to see who exactly dares to call. Isn't this my master ancestor? Why are you looking for little tortoise? The nether black tortoise looked over and then gave a wave of truth. Even if the tortoise crawls slowly, but the speed at which it changes its face is very fast. I don't know if I can finish writing today. I'm too busy. If I can't finish the 3rd chapter today, I'll make it up to tomorrow. Sorry. Chapter 698. The Nether Black Tortoise looked at Ning Tian in fear. Its mountain-like body was trembling. It clearly remembered that Ning Tian almost chopped off its tortoise whip a few years ago. Without its tortoise whip, would it still be a normal black tortoise? So, that was why the Nether Black Tortoise was so afraid when it saw Ning Tian again. Moreover, although it could not see through Ning Tian's strength, it could vaguely feel how terrifying Ning Tian was from his aura. Oh, little tortoise? Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly, revealing a kind smile. Didn't you call yourself Lord Black Tortoise? Cough. I will always be a little tortoise in front of the founder. The Nether Black Tortoise let out a dry cough. When it coughed, even the sea water was stirred up. It was such a huge creature that called itself a little tortoise in front of Ning Tian. Not only was the Nether Black Tortoise instinctively afraid of Ning Tian, but it also had the 8 burial tortoise seal that Ning Tian left in its body. It could be considered as half its master. At least you know what's good for you. Ning Tian chuckled. His indifferent gaze fell on the Nether Black Tortoise. His hand was already facing the Nether Black Tortoise. He raised his hand slightly and said plainly, I'm here today to give you a surprise. I want you to become a new you. As soon as he finished his sentence, the lock cylinder replacement technique was silently activated. Become a new me? The Nether Black Tortoise was stunned. It looked at Ning Tian's raised hand and saw a surge of powerful lightning-like energy. It could not help but swallow its saliva. The island that was formed by the tortoise shell was constantly trembling at this moment. This was not a surprise but a shock? Although it did not know what the founder meant, it knew that it was not a good thing when it saw the terrifying lightning energy. You're shocked and scared the Nether Black Tortoise to tears. The beast taming Tao has begun to improve. The beast taming Tao has entered the divine Tao from the Saint Tao. In his mind, the system's voice fell. The way of taming beasts? Hearing this, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. He had stopped cultivating the way of taming beasts a long time ago. He did not expect that he had already reached the saint level. He must have improved it when he was controlling the flame-sealing Lion King. However, now that he had mastered the way of taming beasts, he might as well tame the Nether Black Tortoise completely. Perhaps that would make it easier to change the lock core. Anyway, he was already half a master. Netherworld, listen to the music. Ning Tian looked at the Netherworld Black Tortoise and waved his hand. A celestial zither appeared in front of him. At this moment, he no longer needed to play the sound of taming beasts. He could just use his divine will. The Nether Black Tortoise was stunned. Originally, the Nether Black Tortoise was still pleasantly surprised that its ancestor had called out its name. However, when the sound of taming beasts rang out in the next second, the Nether Black Tortoise's eyes suddenly became sluggish, intoxicated by the heavenly music. When the immortal exterminating Guzheng was played by his divine will, the Tao of music and the Tao of beast taming sounded at the same time. Clang, clang, clang. When the heavenly music rang out, Ning Tian realized that something was wrong. There was also a sound of taming beasts in the Nether Black Tortoise's body. Although the rhythm of the two sound of taming beasts was different, the essence was the same. However, one had already controlled the Nether Black Tortoise, and the other was preparing to control the Nether Black Tortoise. Ancient God Yun too, there is actually someone who has mastered the way of taming beasts. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. This sound of taming beasts was very similar to his in essence. Logically speaking, his sound of taming beasts should be unique in the entire profound sky world. What exactly is going on? Ning Tian frowned. Just as he was about to think seriously, his mind suddenly went blank. It was as if there were countless voices ringing in his mind. Fail, fail, fail. I failed again, might as well. This strange and constantly overlapping voice only lasted for a few seconds before dissipating. Fail. Fail? Ning Tian's forehead was already dripping with cold sweat. He muttered and tried to recall, but he couldn't remember anything. Damn it, what exactly is going on? He shook his head violently to shake off the dizziness. Then, he looked at the nether black tortoise. At this moment, his divine will was already playing the celestial slashing guzheng. The celestial slashing music in the nether black tortoise's body had already dissipated by a lot. Perhaps it was because of the long time, or perhaps it was because of the power of Ning Tian's sound of taming beasts. A few minutes later, boom, 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 a huge aura flowed out of the nether black tortoise's body. Then, the celestial slashing music stopped. The nether black tortoise had already branded his mark. Phew, now, the nether black tortoise is my second top demonic beast, Ning Tian muttered. Then, the powerful force that was like thunder and lightning appeared in his hand again. Since he had already controlled the nether black tortoise, it should be much easier to perform the core replacement technique. Nether, don't move around next, Ning Tian instructed. Although the nether black tortoise was a little scared after hearing this, it did not dare to disobey Ning Tian's order. It could only nod its head heavily. The nether black tortoise is an invisible lock. Then, I need to make the invisible lock appear. Ning Tian's gaze fell on the nether black tortoise's body as he muttered faintly. Then, the lightning-like force in his hand blasted towards the nether black tortoise's tortoise shell. At this moment, Ning Tian controlled the lightning and wanted to force the lock out of the tortoise shell by force. Damn it! Seeing this scene, the nether black tortoise exclaimed and quickly retracted its head. When the lightning-like punch was about to hit, the black aura on the tortoise shell gradually flowed out. So, even the power of this lock uses the energy of the chaotic aura. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. On the tortoise shell, the black aura condensed into a pitch-black lock. It was at least several hundred meters long. The invisible lock was locked by numerous iron chains. Not only did the iron chains lock the black lock, they also locked the nether black tortoise. Since it's formed by the energy of the chaotic aura, then it's much easier. Ning Tian's lips curled into a slight smile. If it was any other simple energy, it might be difficult for him. However, this most complicated energy of the chaotic aura was the easiest for him. Using the dark as the lock and the chaos as the core. Change it. Ning Tian raised his hand. His left hand controlled the power of changing lightning and his right hand was a mass of black aura. This was the energy of the chaotic aura. When the two energies gathered together, the iron chains that firmly locked the nether black tortoise began to emit a strange sound. The nether black tortoise's body was also constantly emitting the energy of the chaotic aura. Roar! Roar! In an instant, the endless ocean realm raged. Even the nether black tortoise let out a roar. It was obvious that the changing of the lock had a huge reaction to it. Chapter 699. In the Sky. Ning Tian, who was dressed in black, looked indifferent. Even when he saw the raging waves of the endless sea area and heard the nether black tortoise's painful screams, he was still indifferent. Pain was inevitable, but he had to achieve his goal. Boom, boom, boom. 1/5 of the seawater in the endless sea area was evaporated by the terrifying heat. The sea level began to drop and even affected the entire firmament territory. After all, the nether black tortoise was not only the lock of the sealed land, but also the support of the entire firmament territory. If it was affected, so would the entire firmament territory. But it did not matter. Anyway, the surrounding practitioners had already retreated when they attacked. Nether black tortoise, hang in there, Ning Tian said indifferently. The two forces in his hands began to merge. What he needed to do now was to replace the lock core. Ancestral Master, just do it. The nether black tortoise gritted its teeth and nodded heavily. Then, here it comes! A glint flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. His expression darkened, and the two balls of energy gathered together. They pressed down heavily on the invisible black lock. There was the sound of chains rubbing against each other. It seemed like something was changing. Boom! The sudden power almost flipped the nether black tortoise upside down. It could not help laughing bitterly. Ancestral Master was really not polite at this time. A huge force gathered under the nether black tortoise's shell. It was also a kind of black chi, but it was not the chaotic chi. It was demonic chi. Demonic chi? Why don't I take this opportunity to let the Buddha Demon Pagoda absorb some demonic chi? Ning Tian's eyes fell on the dense demonic chi. After murmuring, he waved his hand again. The Buddha Demon Pagoda turned into a small pagoda and floated behind him. It began to absorb the dense demonic chi. A few minutes later. It's finally over. Looking at the nether black tortoise's shell and the pitch-black lock formed by the chaotic aura, Ning Tian let out a long sigh of relief. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly and a glint flashed across his eyes. Although this lock looked the same as before, the core of the lock had changed. In other words, right now, the only person who could enter the sealed area of raging waves was Ning Tian. There seems to be another ancient god sovereign sealed within. Ning Tian smirked and looked at the nether black tortoise. Netherworld, shut the door and beat the dog. At the place where the raging sea was sealed. Huh! What happened? In a dark sea, a white-haired old man felt the sea water tremble. His expression changed slightly. There was a huge formation in front of him that was rotating in the dark. Could it be something happened to those three fellows? Old Ancestor Nether frowned as a look of worry flashed across his eyes. The extraction of the breath of chaos is almost complete. Why don't we take this opportunity to go up and take a look? This damned place, no matter how many times I come here, my heart still palpitates. Old Ancestor Ming muttered and sighed. In the dark seawater, this raging sea seal gave people an inexplicable sense of fear. Even old Ancestor Nether, who had come here several times, did not dare to stay for long. However, just as old Ancestor Nether was about to turn around and return, he discovered something strange. The entire sealed area seemed to have been locked. He could not find a way out. Damn it, what's going on? Old Ancestor Nether clenched his yellowed teeth. He was holding a pitch-black key in his hand. However, at this moment, the key to open the lock could not be used. Damn it! Nether Black Tortoise, what are you doing? Your lock is broken? Old Ancestor Nether raised his head and roared hysterically. However, Old Ancestor Nether Black Tortoise did not say anything. What's going on? Why can this old man come in, but can't get out? Seeing this, Old Ancestor Nether's turbid eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness as he looked at the pitch-black surroundings. In the dark sea, the calmer it was, the more terrifying it was. Old Ancestor Nether was starting to panic. Although he was an ancient god sovereign, he had only just broken through. Furthermore, he had relied on the chaotic aura to forcefully break through. He was only a dabbler. And this place was the true land of the Seal of Darkness. Are you worthy? Right at this moment, an indifferent voice rang out in the pitch-black space. Old Ancestor Nether was so frightened that his body trembled. Then, he quickly retreated. After he had maintained a safe distance, he looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a black-clothed youth had appeared at the bottom of the dark sea and was looking at him indifferently. Who are you? Old Ancestor Nether's expression was grave. Cold sweat kept dripping from his forehead. He clearly remembered that when he had arrived at the sealed area, there was absolutely no one around. This could only mean that this guy had just arrived. Without a sound. Even he did not notice. Could it be this person's strength was above his? Furthermore, wasn't this sealed area only accessible to people from the ancient god Yuntu? You're from the ancient god Yuntu? Old Ancestor Nether looked at the black-clothed youth with a grave expression. That's right. Ning Tian's lips curled up. Originally, he was not. However, since old ancestor Nether asked, he could be. Why have I never seen you before? Old ancestor Nether maintained a trace of doubt. The ancient god Yun Tu is hidden in the undercurrent. Who can guarantee that everyone has seen it before? Ning Tian chuckled. He was not flustered at all. A trace of chaotic aura was quietly circulating on his body. Hearing this, old ancestor Nether frowned. He felt the chaotic aura on Ning Tian's body. When he thought about how this place could only be accessed by experts from the ancient god Yun Tu who had the key, he started to believe it. Who are you from the ancient god Yun Tu? Old ancestor Nether asked. I am supreme god Yang Su. For some unknown reason, the seal here is broken. So, are you worthy? Ning Tian said seriously. Worthy? Worthy of supreme god Yang Su? Old ancestor Nether was stunned. He could not help but frown. Why would someone have such a strange Taoist name? However, no wonder his key did not work. It turned out that the lock was broken. Gurgle gurgle. Around them, there seemed to be the faint sound of bubbles. However, old ancestor Nether's attention was focused on Ning Tian. Worthy, I'm worthy, he hurriedly said. Oh, how many do you want? Ning Tian's voice sounded again. Old ancestor Nether was stunned. He felt that this guy was scolding him? Just one will do, since you want to, there's no problem. I am supreme god Yang Su. Other than Yang Su, I know everything. Ning Tian smiled as he looked at old ancestor Nether. He raised his hand slightly and a trace of light flashed in his eyes. That was the eye of the array. Chapter 700. When Ning Tian raised his hand, bubbles appeared around old ancestor Nether like an array formation. The commotion and Ning Tian's words alarmed old ancestor Nether. Supremacy god Sangs, and knows everything except Sangsua? What do you mean? Old ancestor Nether frowned and gritted his yellow teeth. He had a vague feeling that something was amiss. That is naturally, it's literally what I said. Ning Tian chuckled. The golden light in his eyes dissipated. With a gentle wave of his hand, an array formation appeared around old ancestor Nether. Old ancestor Nether widened his eyes. What the f***ck? Someone was pretending to be supremacy god Sangsua, but was actually an array formation master? No. You are not one of us. Old ancestor Nether's eyes flashed. He suddenly reacted and slapped his head, almost giving himself a concussion. This old man is indeed quick-witted. I immediately saw through your disguise. Quick-witted? You are not quick-witted. You are wise. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth twitched and he shook his head. He didn't think that this old thing would feel so good about himself. Moreover, he had purposely used words to distract the patriarch of the underworld while using the array eye to construct a fate array. Array of fate rise. However, when the array formation was completed, Ning Tian waved his hand. In an instant, the power of the array formation surged and enveloped old ancestor Nether. What? What is this? Gulp, gulp. When the power of the array formation surged, old ancestor Nether immediately activated his ancient god power. However, the power of the array formation was indeed very strange. Even though old ancestor Nether used a huge amount of power at the first moment, the power of the array formation had already seeped into him. However, the array formation did not seem to cause any damage to old ancestor Nether. It only broke the protective layer of water on his body. When cultivators reached the bottom of the sea, they had to rely on the protective barrier formed by spiritual chi to speak in the dark seawater. This was enough to protect themselves from being corroded by the seawater. Ning Tian's fate formation happened to be able to break through this power. Gulp, gulp. Old ancestor Nether spat out bubbles with a disdainful expression. Did he mean this is it? After the protective layer was broken, it would take at least half an hour to recover. However, even if it was broken, it was not a big deal. He would just be unable to speak and would get wet. This is it? Is it? Ning Tian chuckled. Then, she sat down cross-legged and slowly closed her eyes. It seemed like she was going to break through right here. Boom. Even at the bottom of the nether, one could hear the sound. And? What is he trying to do? Old Ancestor Nether's expression changed as he thought to himself. Gulp, gulp. The Nether Patriarch spat out bubbles as he glared at Ning Tian. Ning Tian was inviting him to have a spiritual will exchange. However, Ning Tian ignored him. There was a smile on his lips. It's God. Is. Gulu? Ming was stunned or was. Oh, by the way, do you know what are the characteristics of water? Ning Tian looked at Old Ancestor Nether with a smile. Then, he said leisurely, I don't think you know. Let me tell you. Water is conductive. The function of this array of fate is to let you and the lightning tribulation have more than 1 billion points of fate. Otherwise, why is it called the array of fate? Gulp, gulp. Hearing this, Old Ancestor Nether spat out a few bubbles. Then, he rushed toward Ning Tian. This kid is definitely crazy. Does he want to perish together with me under the lightning tribulation? At this moment, Old Ancestor Nether thought that since Ning Tian's strength had reached the sovereign ancient god realm, the lightning tribulation he would undergo would be the sovereign ancient god lightning. He did not dare to undergo such a lightning tribulation. Boom. However, just as the Nether Old Ancestor was about to rush over, a black shadow landed heavily in front of him, blocking his path. Gulp, gulp. Old Ancestor Nether was stunned. When he saw the black shadow clearly, his eyes widened. This black shadow was a pitch-black pagoda. There were various ancient runes on the pagoda, and it emitted various terrifying demonic auras. Gulp. This is the Buddha Demon Pagoda. The Buddha Demon Pagoda that was lost by the ancient god Yun Tu was actually in this kid's hands. No. I must tell this to the ancient god realm. Old Ancestor Nether was secretly shocked, but he had already made up his mind. You have shocked Old Ancestor Nether. Just when Old Ancestor Nether thought that he was going to make a great contribution, the system's voice sounded. Reward Old Ancestor Nether for the love story between him and the lightning tribulation. When the lightning tribulation strikes Old Ancestor Nether, its power will increase by 100%. The demon pagoda will suppress you, and the lightning tribulation will strike you. I want to see how an ancient god realm sovereign like you, who relied on the aura of chaos, will withstand it. Hearing this, Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly. If the system wants you dead, you have no choice but to die. The reason why he took out the Buddha Demon Pagoda was because Old Ancestor Nether was an ancient god of the demon race. The Buddha Demon Pagoda had a strong demon-suppressing effect. It could completely suppress Old Ancestor Nether and make him endure the effects of the lightning tribulation. Ning Tian's left eye had a touch of golden light, which was the array eye. His right eye was full of black light, which was the eye of death. At this moment, he had a very bold idea. Could he strengthen the ancient god lightning tribulation that the heavenly Tao sent down? After all, it was too weak. If he could cover the lightning tribulation with a layer of death law, wouldn't the power of the lightning tribulation be many times stronger? Ning Tian, this kid, had been chasing excitement since he was young. After all, he wouldn't be the one to get hurt. 10,000 lightning tribulation array use. Once he had an idea, Ning Tian would make it happen. He activated the array eye and quickly found the right time to construct the lightning tribulation array. At this moment, he raised his head and looked up with the eye of death. Boom! At this moment, on the surface of the sea, the wind and clouds were surging. Bolts of lightning tribulation smashed down from the sky. In an instant, many fish beasts experienced the power of the ancient god lightning tribulation for the first time in their lives. Then, they left peacefully. On the surface of the sea, lightning covered. But more than that, it was striking down toward the deepest part of the sea. Boom. Boom. It's coming! Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a touch of black light. The death law condensed at this moment, and the eye of death looked at the lightning tribulation that was coming across the sea. Could it be that the patriarch wanted to kill the lightning tribulation with his gaze? However, when his gaze landed, the violent ancient god lightning tribulation was actually stained with a trace of black light. Ha ha! It's indeed effective. The death law has been stained with the lightning tribulation. Could it be that I'll call it death lightning in the future? Seeing this scene, Ning Tian couldn't help but feel happy. This heavenly Tao ancient god lightning tribulation could actually be affected by the death law. Chapter 701. Gulp, Gulp, Gulp. After seeing what Ning Tian was doing, the nether old ancestor kept spitting out bubbles. His eyes were wide open. In his eyes, Ning Tian was getting crazier and crazier. Could it be that this person really wanted to die so badly? Humph! The nether old ancestor snorted coldly in his heart. His gaze landed on the lightning tribulation that was coming from the deep sea. Although he was now suppressed by the Buddha demon tower, he simply stopped struggling. As long as this crazy person was killed by the lightning tribulation, the Buddha demon tower would lose control. At that time, he would directly take the Buddha demon tower and find a way to leave this place. At that time, the ancient heavenly god would definitely praise him. Anyway, this kid would be killed by the lightning tribulation. Why waste his spiritual energy to break free from the Buddha demon tower's control? Gulp, gulp. The nether old ancestor kept spitting bubbles. He knew that this kid was a genius. At this moment, in the dark sea where the raging sea was sealed, Ning Tian and the nether old ancestor were waiting for the lightning tribulation to descend. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. Within the seal, countless pairs of red eyes appeared. These were the void beasts of this place. They were also waiting to watch a good show. Boom. Boom boom. In an instant, when the lightning tribulation descended, the surrounding sea began to boil. The lightning tribulation fell heavily and directly struck towards Ning Tian. Gulp! The nether old ancestor widened his eyes, which were filled with anticipation. He was looking forward to the scene of this kid being killed by the lightning tribulation. However, boom! When the lightning tribulation that contained the law of death struck towards Ning Tian and was only tens of meters away from him, it suddenly made a 180-degree turn and rushed towards the nether old ancestor. Moreover, originally, when the lightning tribulation struck Ning Tian, it was only tens of meters. However, when it rushed towards the nether old ancestor, it directly changed and expanded to hundreds of meters. Gulp, gulp %yen at hashtag. Seeing this scene, the nether old ancestor's eyes almost popped out. He wanted to use the friendly language that he was best at, but unfortunately, the protective barrier had already been destroyed by Ning Tian. He could only spit out bubbles continuously. The thunder tribulation charged directly at old ancestor Nether as if it was chasing after its love. F***ck. He cried out in his heart, not knowing what had happened at all. Just as he was about to circulate his ancient god power, he realized that his aura was being suppressed by the pagoda demon tower. Although he could break free, it would take time. At this moment, the speed at which the thunder calamity was charging at him clearly did not intend to give him any time to react. F***ck. This old man is King wise. Now, the Nether Patriarch finally understood what it meant to be too smart for his own good. But he refused to accept this. This didn't conform to the lightning tribulation theory at all. Damn it. It's not like I'm the one transcending the tribulation. Why don't you fucking chop him up? However, old ancestor Nether could only rage helplessly as the lightning tribulation landed heavily on his body. The lightning tribulation, which was already strengthened to begin with, was strengthened again when facing old ancestor Nether. One could imagine how powerful it would be. Furthermore, Ning Tian's lightning tribulation was just like his. It took a long time, boom, boom. At this moment it struck like a thunderbolt. Gulp, 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 gulp. What was miserable? It wasn't being struck by lightning while acting tough. Instead, other people were acting tough, but the one being struck by lightning was you. Most importantly, you couldn't even let out a scream. All you could do was gurgling and bubbling. Sigh. This is really too miserable. Looking at this scene, Ning Tian sighed. He took out an apple and took a bite. It seems like I broke through? Forget it, let's go through it again. In the lightning tribulation. When old ancestor Nether heard this, he vomited blood. Seeing this scene, the void beasts in the seal still had the attitude of watching a show. Until a lightning tribulation struck a large number of them to death, at the place where the raging sea was sealed. The originally gloomy seawater had become extremely violent. They could vaguely hear a burst of bubbling screams. A few hours later. Phew, it's finally over. This lightning tribulation is really difficult to pass. Ning Tian stretched his body and glanced at the few apple cores beside him. He then glanced at the sea not far away that was charred black. The Buddha Demon Pagoda's aura seemed to have strengthened by a lot. The result was obvious. Old ancestor Nether was struck and turned into a charred black. The demonic chi in his body was completely absorbed by the Buddha Demon Pagoda. The development of things seems to be a little simpler than I thought, Ning Tian murmured. His gaze was already looking at the entire sealed land. The gloomy seawater. The huge seal. A large number of void beasts had already been struck to death. Countless chaotic auras swept in all directions. The unknown tree in his Dantian's Dao land had already started to madly absorb all the energy. However, in this case, the 4 sealed lands are in my hand. This way should be able to breathe a sigh of relief, right? Ning Tian's voice slowly sounded. Although he said that, there was a trace of worry in his heart. A trace, an indescribable feeling. In short, let's consolidate our strength in this 1 month and let the unknown tree absorb the chaotic auras. Ning Tian's voice slowly sounded in the gloomy sea. In the blink of an eye, dozens of days had passed. In these dozens of days, earth-shattering events had happened in the 9 mysterious heavens regions. It could be said that this was something that had never happened in the entire mysterious heavens world. Under the leadership of the Heavenly Spirit Empress, the Tianma cult of the Heavenly Spirit region had unified the entire 9 regions. Wherever they went, no one resisted. Even if there were, they were already dead souls under their swords. In the entire history of the mysterious heavens world, the 9 regions were truly unified for the first time. At this moment, countless powerful auras gathered in the Heavenly Spirit region. All the experts and cultivators of the 9 regions had rushed here under the orders of the Empress. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they looked at the beautiful blue-white figure in the sky above the Tianma cult. That was the Empress. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.